So good evening everyone. So please write down the heading Revolutionaries 1922 plus. Right, so as we discussed in the last class, revolutionaries, they had joined non-cooperation movement, but they were disappointed with the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement because of the incident of Chauri Chaura, and therefore they were also not interested in the constructive work or the electoral politics. So therefore they reverted back to the revolutionary activities. है ना? So इस sentence को लिख लेते हैं, write down first point. हाँ, revolutionaries 1922 plus, मतलब 1922 onwards revolutionaries ने क्या किया? Revolutionaries in brackets 1922 plus, this becomes a topic. Write down the first point. Revolutionaries, or yeah, simply they joined NCM with enthusiasm. They joined NCM with enthusiasm. Achha, वैसे why do you think they joined NCM with enthusiasm? Because they had been repressed. Because from 1908 to 1911 and then again from 1913 to 1915 they had been repressed. So their morale was down, and Mahatma Gandhi offered something new, and everyone was very excited that what this new man who has been victorious in South Africa, what he will do. Right, so therefore not just the moderates and the extremists but also the revolutionaries, they had high hopes from Mahatma Gandhi, and therefore they thought ki, okay, let us try this. Maybe guns will not work, and maybe this kind of political struggle on the streets, it can work, right? So that is why. So because they were demoralized, that's why they joined, right? So write down, they joined NCM with enthusiasm. They joined NCM with enthusiasm, but disappointed. After withdrawal. But disappointed after withdrawal. Plus not interested in CW, not interested in CW and parliamentary politics, not interested in CW and parliamentary politics. Therefore revived revolutionary activities. Therefore revived revolutionary activities. Revolutionary activities. Next point. After Russian Revolution 1917, comma, rise of communism all across world, rise of communism all across world, and revolutionaries got attracted, as communism was about pro-poor ideology, and had method of armed struggle, pro-poor ideology and had method of armed struggle. Next point, HRA 1924. In brackets, Hindustan Republican Army. HRA 1924 in brackets, Hindustan Republican Army. Hindustan Republican Army. So this is the organization they are setting up, right, and to carry out the armed struggle, right. So this organization was set up by people like Ashfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, etc., etc. तो उनका नाम लिख लेते हैं. So write down dash Ram Prasad Bismil, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ram Prasad Bismil, comma Sachin Sanyal, Sachin Sanyal, 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 comma Ashfaqullah Khan, and Jogesh Chatterjee, Ashfaqullah Khan and Jogesh Chatterjee. यही ठीक है. And Jogesh Chatterjee set up HRA with goal of a United States of India, with goal of a United States of India, with goal of United States of India with universal adult franchise, UAF, with universal adult franchise, with universal adult franchise. Now to start an armed struggle you need arms, and for arms you need money, right. So therefore their first attempt was Kakori robbery case, whereby they attacked a train which was carrying cash. But after this a lot of arrests were made by the Britishers, their intelligence was pretty strong, and therefore HRA, it went defunct. Hangings were also done. For example, Ashfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, they were given death sentences, right. So therefore HRA went defunct immediately after the Kakori robbery case, and it is then HSRA. After 4 years in 1928, Hindustan Socialist Republican Army will be set up. So what word has been added? S, socialist, right, and it is being set up by, it is like a revival of HRA. It is being done by Chandrasekhar Azad, it is being done by Bhagat Singh, right. But the element of socialist is there, that is the ideology of socialism will be added, right. And then they will engage in two major cases, Lahore conspiracy case and your bomb in CLA. वो क्या थे वो हम discuss करेंगे. So write down next point. 1925 Kakori robbery case. 1925 Kakori, Kakori, Kakori robbery case, comma HRA looted cash, HRA looted cash from train, HRA looted cash from train, but many were arrested, HRA looted cash from train, but many were arrested, and HRA went defunct. इसको क्या हो गया भाई आज? HRA went defunct. HRA went defunct. Full stop. Bismil plus Ashfaqullah Khan. Bismil plus Ashfaqullah Khan hanged. Bismil plus Ashfaqullah Khan hanged. But Chandrasekhar Azad could not be caught. Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan hanged, but Chandrasekhar Azad could not be caught. Could not be caught. Next point, 1928 HSRA. HSRA. S stands for socialist, बाकी सेम है. हिंदुस्तान सोशलिस्ट रिपब्लिकन आर्मी, HSRA. Right. So write down. HRA was revived as HSRA. HRA was revived as HSRA by Azad and Bhagat Singh. HRA was revived as HSRA by Azad and Bhagat Singh. Full stop. It had full stop. It had all revolutionaries of North India. It had all revolutionaries of North India. All revolutionaries of North India. Example Sukhdev, Rajguru. Example Sukhdev, Rajguru. Bhagwati Charan Vohra. Bhagwati Charan Vohra. Bhagwati Charan Vohra. ठीक. Next write down Lahore conspiracy case 1928. Lahore conspiracy case 1928. Lahore conspiracy case 1928. Dash. So basically what happened, Simon Commission had been announced in 1927. Simon Commission had been announced in 1927 and anti-Simon Commission protests began, right? Simon Commission, it also arrived in India, right? And Simon Commission ka purpose tha to basically to suggest next set of reforms, right? But in that Simon Commission, 7 members were there and there was no Indian member. And therefore Indians were angry that why Indians are not given a chance or a say in determining that what is our next constitution or what is our next reforms, because this goes against the idea of self-government. Self-government is not just that the Britishers, they have given us a Government of India Act and then we are participating. What that Government of India Act should have, there also we should have a say. Not just laws made by Indians, but also a constitution made by Indians. Constitution is also part of self-government. We should have a say. And therefore, when Simon Commission, it travelled to India, right? Around that particular point of time, anti-Simon Commission protests began, right? And in those protests, Lala Lajpat Rai also participated. And then there was an order of Lathi charge, and Lala Lajpat Rai succumbed to the injuries he suffered in the Lathi charge. And then Bhagat Singh, he took revenge, or he wanted to take revenge of Lala Lajpat Rai, that how can such a tall leader can be killed on orders of a small petty official, and that small petty official means an IPS level officer, superintendent of police was there, SP, right? So therefore SP was your James Scott, right? So therefore Bhagat Singh wanted to take revenge. However, in this Lahore conspiracy case, by mistake, Deputy SP, DSP, John Saunders was assassinated, right? So therefore this is the case. So write down dash Bhagat Singh took revenge. Bhagat Singh took revenge. Bhagat Singh took revenge for death of LL Rai. Bhagat Singh took revenge for death of LL Rai. Due to Lathi charge. Due to Lathi charge. Due to Lathi charge during anti-Simon protests. During anti-Simon protests. During anti-Simon protests. In November 1928. Anti-Simon protests, November 1928. November 1928. Full stop. However, DSP, John Saunders, DSP John Saunders killed instead of SP James Scott. However, DSP John Saunders killed instead of SP James Scott. Right. So then these people, they are escaping, right? So they are not caught, right? But then there is another case, that is bomb in CLA. So Central Legislative Assembly, which was set up by the Government of India Act 1919, it was deliberating upon Public Safety Bill and Trade Disputes Bill. Public Safety Bill and Trade Disputes Bill, they were designed to basically suppress the working class movement, communists. And Bhagat Singh was a communist, Bhagat Singh was a Marxist, right? Public Safety Bill, for example, gave power of deportation, right? Trade Disputes Bill, it tried to curb the right to strike and it tried to curb the rights of the workers. Because communism, it is all about workers, right? So therefore, to your Bhagat Singh and BK Dutt, Mukteshwar Dutt, right? So they went to the CLA and they threw a bomb, right? That bomb was harmless bomb, and then they threw parchas on which the slogan was written, to make the deaf hear, right? So they were threatening the members of the CLA to not pass such a law, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario it is. And after that, they did not run away. They courted arrest. That fine, you can arrest us. The plan was that Bhagat Singh wanted to make a sacrifice, and with his sacrifice, he wanted to, because political activities as such, they are down. Yes, anti-Simon Commission protests are on. So he wanted to, anyways, motivate the people of India with his supreme sacrifice. And he was like, arrest me, and after that, in the court trial, I'll make my nationalistic speeches. The newspapers, they'll report upon it, right? And therefore, my ideas, I'll try to spread my ideas through those newspaper reports. And finally, when the Britishers, they hang me, then I'll be basically making a sacrifice, motivating the Indians to join the national struggle, right? So basically, that is the idea of your Lahore conspiracy, your this thing, a bomb in CLA case, right? So write down 1929 bomb in CLA. 1929 bomb in CLA. 1929 bomb in CLA by Bhagat Singh and BK Dutt. By Bhagat Singh and BK Dutt dash. By Bhagat Singh and BK Dutt dash. First point, Bhagat Singh and BK Dutt dash. First point, CLA was deliberating upon, CLA was discussing, ऐसा लिख दो, CLA was discussing public safety bill. CLA was discussing public safety bill and trade disputes bill. Public safety bill and trade disputes bill, aimed at curbing liberty, aimed at curbing liberty and working class movement, aimed at curbing liberty and working class movement, working class movement. Full stop. Public safety bill provided for, public safety bill provided for deportation, public safety bill provided for deportation, deportation, deportation. Full stop. British feared rising communist influence. British feared rising communist influence in India. British feared rising communist influence in India. See, you should understand, Britain, US, etc., they are capitalistic nations, whereas communism, it believes in end of capitalism, and therefore the communist forces, they are trying to incite revolution in the capitalistic countries. So that's why, right? Next point, bomb was harmless. Bomb was harmless. Plus leaflets thrown, plus leaflets thrown in CLA, leaflets thrown in CLA with slogan, leaflets thrown in CLA with slogan, to make the deaf hear, to make the deaf hear, to make the deaf hear. Full stop. They quoted arrest. They quoted arrest with goal of, they quoted arrest with goal of doing propaganda in court, with goal of doing propaganda in court. And inspire masses with their sacrifice. Propaganda in court and inspire masses with their sacrifice. And inspire masses with their sacrifice. Masses with their sacrifice. right? Now the next theme that we are going to talk about is the personality of Bhagat Singh, or what did the revolutionaries in general stood for, right? So when we write about Bhagat Singh, it is we are writing about the revolutionaries of 1922 onwards, and we are also writing about Bhagat Singh, that what was their stand, right? So for example, 2-3 themes are there. First is Bhagat Singh. Shekhar Bandyopadhyay says, for example, that Bhagat Singh believed more in the power of pen, right? So yes, he was using the methods of revolutionary activities, he was using the gun, but he believed more in the power of pen. He wanted to make a supreme sacrifice for the nation, but after making that sacrifice, he wanted the people to be inspired to not become revolutionaries, but to join Indian national movement, right? And it is very logical also. If you are Bhagat Singh, imagine, right? Then would you, the simple point is, you do not want the youth to simply give up their life. Yes, they will be given their life, but not everyone is expected that they will give up their life for the nation, right? So only some among you who might be ready, right? So therefore, the goal cannot be कि सारे के सारे जो young लोग हैं, you know, they simply, you know, this kind of scenario, right? So आप तो नहीं चाहिए ना कि आप माँ बाप से उनके बच्चे छीन लें, मतलब you are inspiring people, you know, that they should die for their nation. ऐसा कोई जरूरी नहीं, ठीक है ना? You are not an army, you are a simple student who is there, right? Who is there in college, who is there in school, right? So Bhagat Singh had also established, for example, organizations earlier whereby he wanted the youth to be politically trained, so that they can join the Indian national movement. So he wanted them to join maybe Indian National Congress or to join Communist Party of India, right? But yes, he is following the revolutionary activities to inspire such a thing, right? So therefore, that is the idea. So that's why we'll be mentioning certain things where we'll try to prove that he believed more in the power of pen for the others. For himself, he is making the supreme sacrifice, right? This kind of scenario, right? Plus, he also believed in human rights, right? So we'll be mentioning something, the work that he did while he was in jail for the human rights, right? तो इस प्रकार से करेंगे. Plus some of the other things are there, that for example Bhagat Singh, he did not want to be hanged. He said it is the criminals who are hanged. I'm not a criminal. I am basically a freedom fighter. So therefore I should die like a revolutionary. And therefore if you want to kill me by giving me a bullet. That is by shooting me in front of a shooting squad, make me stand and you kill me. Don't hang me. It is disrespect to me that I'm hanged. Kill me like a man, kill me like a freedom fighter. This kind of scenario was there, right? तो इस प्रकार से कुछ चीजें हैं. Then we'll be also mentioning that, for example, what was the ideology. एक नई चीज है जो हो रही है. In the case of 1908 to 1911, we did not talk much about the ideology of the revolutionaries. Only one thing is there, that for them the long-term goal was repeat of 1857 revolt, and the short-term activity was individual sacrifice. But then if you would have noticed, when we discussed the Ghadar movement, there was an element of ideology, and that ideology was secularism. The Ghadarites, they were deeply secular. The Ghadarites, they talked about Hindu-Muslim Sikh unity, right? Plus they have the ideology of nationalism, वो तो revolutionaries के अंदर है, वो तो पहले भी, right? This time we have added another ideology to them, that is of pro-poor ideology or communism or Marxism, right? So do you see that the revolutionaries gradually are becoming more mature? They continue to have gun in their hands, but their mind is also becoming more and more ideological, more and more mature, right? The political thought is developing. So therefore, you're using the guns not just for the sake of using guns, but gun is just a tool to achieve some ideology, right? And that ideology is pro-poor ideology, right? This kind of a scenario. So therefore, for example, we'll be mentioning that Bhagwati Charan Vora, he wrote a book, Philosophy of the Bomb, philosophy, ideology of the bomb. That why we are using guns, why we are using bombs. Are we simply terrorists, or we have some brains and it is just a method, right? For example, Marxism also talks about using guns. Communism also talks about using guns. But Karl Marx, ideologue to hai, right? Marxism, it is a proper ideology, right? So therefore, they want to prove that we are not simply terrorists, we have ideology also. This kind of scenario, right? तो कुछ चीजें इस प्रकार की लगे. So write down. While in jail, comma, he set up a library. While in jail, he set up a library. While in jail, he set up a library, as he believed more. Leaflets माने पर्चे, pamphlets, right? While in jail, he set up a library, as he believed more in power of pen. As he believed more in power of pen. As he believed more in power of pen. Next point. He also started a hunger strike. He also started a hunger strike. He also started a hunger strike against inhuman living conditions. He also started a hunger strike against inhuman living conditions in jail. Inhuman living conditions in jail. And Jatin Das died on 64th day of fast. And Jatin Das died on 64th day of fast. 64th day of fast due to force feeding. Due to force feeding that damaged force feeding that damaged his lungs. Force feeding that damaged his lungs. Force feeding that damaged his lungs. Next point. Bhagat Singh stated that I have acted like a terrorist. Bhagat Singh stated that I have acted like a terrorist. That I have acted like a terrorist, but I am not a terrorist. But I am not a terrorist. But I am not a terrorist. That is, he was a freedom fighter. That is, he was a freedom fighter. Next point, he didn't want youth. Next point, he didn't want youth to follow path of, he didn't want youth to follow path of revolutionary activities. He didn't want youth to follow path of revolutionary activities. But to join INM, and INC. But to join INM and INC. But to join INM and INC. See, the point is, INC is not a political party. Many of the people, they say, INC was not a political party, it was a platform. Right? A party has a particular ideology. But INC was not that. INC was like a platform where people from different kind of ideologies, they became members. Many communists were members of INC. Many right-wing people, they were members of INC. All ideologies from left to right, also including center, all ideology wale log, they were part of the Indian National Congress. Why? Because Indian National Congress had become the face or the top organization that was fighting for the freedom struggle. Right? So therefore, the plan or in general would be that usually the political leaders, even if they do not believe in the ideology of the top leadership, what they would want is, let us join the Congress and over a period of time, internally let us convert the people of the Congress or the members of the Congress on our side. And then we can become the leadership of the Congress, and therefore then our ideology will be the top ideology. Right? So that's all. That is, change the INC from within. Change the Indian National Congress from within. और ऐसा एक बार नहीं, multiple times. Like for example, communists, they joined the INC. Why? The goal was to change the INC over a period of time from within. Congress Socialist Party was set up in 1934. Why? What was the goal of Jayaprakash Narayan and others? To change the INC from within. They were in disagreement with the Gandhian leadership. But they did not quit Indian National Congress, but within Indian National Congress, they formed a small political party which they hope that over a period of time, more and more INC members will also join the Congress Socialist Party, and one day the Congress Socialist Party people will also become the leadership of INC, and therefore you have changed the colors of INC from within. Right? So therefore ऐसा है. So INC is like a political platform. It's because a party has a particular ideology, but Indian National Congress had all ideologies in it as members. Right? ऐसा. Right? Full stop, therefore. Full stop, therefore. Only wanted to inspire nationalism. Therefore, only wanted to inspire nationalism. Therefore, only wanted to inspire nationalism with his sacrifice. Only wanted to inspire nationalism with his sacrifice. Next point. He set up Punjab Naujawan Bharat Sabha. He set up Punjab Naujawan Bharat Sabha in 1926. He set up Punjab Naujawan Bharat Sabha in 1926. In 1926. To educate the youth. To educate the youth. For mass politics. To educate the youth for mass politics. Next point. Revolutionaries were deeply secular. Revolutionaries were deeply secular. Revolutionaries were deeply secular. And Bhagat Singh argued. And Bhagat Singh argued that communalism. Bhagat Singh argued that communalism is as big enemy. Bhagat Singh argued that communalism is as big enemy as colonialism. Communalism is as big enemy as colonialism. As colonialism. So communism as an ideology is anti-religion, right? So naturally, right? So वो भी है. Next point. Philosophy of bomb. Philosophy of bomb. Philosophy of bomb. और इसको कोट्स में डाल दो. Philosophy of bomb. इसको कोट्स में डाल दो. Was written by B.C. Vohra. Was written by Bhagwati Charan Vohra. Was written by Bhagwati Charan Vohra and C. Azad, Chandrasekhar Azad and Azad, Bhagwati Charan Vohra and Azad. And it reflected ideology of revolutionaries. And it reflected ideology of revolutionaries. And it reflected ideology of revolutionaries. And it defined revolution. And it defined revolution as independence. And it defined revolution as independence. Dash political as well as social and economic. As well as social and economic. Defined independence as political as well as social and economic. Bracket में स्टार लगा के independence from inequality and oppression of all kinds. Independence from inequality and oppression of all kinds. And not just by independence from inequality and oppression of all kinds, and not just by foreigners, and not just by foreigners. Brackets close. So it means it is not just about getting independence from the Britishers. It is about getting independence from inequality. It is about getting independence from the rich factory owners exploiting the poor workers. It is about getting independence from big zamindars hurting the interests of the poor ryots or the poor tenants. It is about the upper caste oppressing the lower castes. It is about the women being oppressed by the patriarchal societies. That means independence from all kind of oppression, from all kind of social injustices. That is the real independence. सिर्फ अंग्रेजों को निकाल के आज़ादी नहीं मिलेगी. You have to get rid of all of these things, right? So therefore, that is the ideology they stand. So therefore, look at the deep ideology they have. Their goal is not limited to removal of the Britishers. Their goal is, beyond that. So therefore, you see high ideological thing. Next point. Therefore, this time, revolutionaries were more politically aware. Therefore, this time, revolutionaries were more politically aware and ideologically stronger. Therefore, this time, revolutionaries were more politically aware and ideologically stronger. Next point, Bhagat Singh Sukhdev Rajguru hanged on. Bhagat Singh Sukhdev Rajguru hanged on 23rd March. Bhagat Singh Sukhdev Rajguru hanged on 23rd March 1931. Hanged on 23rd March 1931 in Lahore conspiracy case. Bhagat Singh Sukhdev Rajguru hanged on 23rd March 1931 in Lahore conspiracy case. And Azad shot himself. During an encounter. In 1931. Right, so he had decided that he will not be caught by the police, but when he got surrounded, so therefore he decided that he will commit that act. Right, so aisa hai. So this is about North India, but something was also taking place in East India, that is in your East Bengal, and that was Chittagong Armory raid by an organization called Indian Republican Army, IRA, which was set up by a teacher. Teacher are dangerous, samajh rahe ho? Set up by a teacher, Bhagwati Charan Vohra, Surya Sen. आपका लाला हरदयाल भी प्रोफेसर थे, ठीक है, ऐसा, ठीक है. Anyway, Surya Sen, right? So he was a teacher by profession, and then he had decided that, what is special about this? So special about this, after 1857, for the first time, there is a group armed action. Till now, whatever activity we have seen, it is all individual activity. Or at max 3 to 4 people, 5, 6 people, they doing this. In the case of the IRA, it is a huge group of people, hundreds of people, which come together and which act like an army and which actually fight against the British. And this is happening for the first time after 1857 revolt. या तो इतनी, मतलब 1857 revolt was much bigger, but not just one person or 3 to 4 or 6 people, but hundreds of people coming together. Second special thing was Muslims, Hindus, both were part of this IRA. Third special thing was women, they were also part of the IRA, and they fought and they died for their country. Right? So therefore, this is a unique kind of scenario where we find women. Usually when we read about women, we see that, okay, women are acting as couriers. Right? Underground activity mein, they are carrying information or they are carrying pistols, this kind of scenario it is there. Right, or women participating in satyagraha, is type ka hai. But women using the gun, dying like a fighter, this kind of scenario, it is happening here in the case of your IRA, Indian Republican Army. Right, and Surya Sen knew that he is going to die. Right, so his plan was that we are going to raid. Arms are required, so Armory is a place which stores weapons. So we are going to raid Chittagong Armory and we are going to take weapons, and after that we are going to start a revolt. And we are going to cut off railway lines, telephone lines, telegraph lines, etc. सब कुछ cut off कर देंगे between Chittagong and your rest of Bengal or rest of India. And ऐसा, and we'll declare. Obviously, they knew that the British army is mighty British army. It will come, and they will all die. But still, they are rising. Right? This kind of scenario it is taking place. Ultimately, it gets defeated. Surya Sen, he is arrested and he is hanged. राइट. सो ऐसा करके चल रहा है. सो राइट डाउन चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड 1930-33 by Surya Sen led IRA. Chittagong Armory Raid 1930-33 by Surya Sen led IRA. By Surya Sen led IRA. In brackets Indian Republican Army. IRA in brackets Indian Republican Army. Indian Republican Army. कहाँ पे है? इन ईस्ट बंगाल. ऑब्वियसली चित्तगोंग इज पार्ट ऑफ ईस्ट बंगाल. इन ईस्ट बंगाल. फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. While MG was leading CDM, while MG was leading CDM 1930-34, while MG was leading CDM 1930-34, comma, revolutionaries in East Bengal started armed struggle. Next point. The IRA mobilized even women in it. Mobilized even women in it for armed struggle. Mobilized even women in it for armed struggle. Next point. IRA raided Chittagong Armory. IRA raided Chittagong Armory. Chittagong Armory to secure arms. And declared a provisional revolutionary government. Declared a provisional revolutionary government. Provisional revolutionary government. See, why the word provisional? Provisional, it means temporary, right? So this is a temporary government. Once we overthrow the Britishers, then because we believe in democracy, so through elections, a proper permanent government will come into existence. So many of the times, be it Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose when his Azad Hind Fauj is revolting, or be it here Surya Sen, or be it so many examples in world history, right? So therefore, you call it when revolutionary they set up any government, right? Usually they call it provisional. Why? Because this is a temporary government, and final government will be set up with the will of the people. That is democracy, right? ऐसा. So they are declaring अपनी खुद की सरकार they are declaring, right? Full stop. They cut off. Full stop. They cut off Chittagong. They cut off Chittagong from rest of India. They cut off Chittagong from rest of India by destroying railway lines, and communication systems. By destroying railway lines and communication systems. Next point. By 1933, crushed. By 1933, they were crushed. By 1933, they were crushed. But greatly inspired INM. Next point, for first time after 1857, for first time after 1857, there was group action. For first time after 1857, there was group action in armed struggle. There was group action in armed struggle. Plus, many Muslims and women, plus many Muslims and women were part of IRA. Many Muslims and women were part of IRA. Plus, Preeti Lata Vadedar. Preeti Lata Vadedar died fighting. Preeti Lata Vadedar died fighting. Died fighting. And Kalpana Dutt. And Kalpana Dutt. And Kalpana Dutt got life imprisonment. Got life imprisonment. Kalpana Dutt got life imprisonment. Plus, अब इमेजिन करो ऐसा सिचुएशन, यू बिकम एन IAS ऑफिसर, है ना, एंड यू आर एन IAS ऑफिसर ऑफ द ब्रिटिश एरा, right, and you have set up some schools and colleges etc. also schools were established here, right, and your peon tells you one day that sir, some schoolgirls they have come to meet you, right, your emotions will be very happy that you know, see why I have fulfilled my white man's burden, right. So these girls, they come, they open their bag, they thought that they are going to show you homework, but instead they take out a gun and tie, right. Imagine this kind of scenario it is taking place. Imagine another scenario that let's say some college is there, right, and you are the governor of the particular province or lieutenant governor of the province, and you are the chief guest, and you are called there, in the convocation ceremony to give what you call as degrees, right, and you will be very proud that see how I have greatly fulfilled the white man's burden, and the smile on your face that the next degree is going to be given to some females, right, some ladies, right, आपकी छाती ऐसे चौड़ी हो रखी होगी, right, that you are basically, like you have fulfilled the white man's burden, and you're like, for the camera, and instead she takes out a gun and tie. Right. So therefore, one thing is there with respect to women, even Bhagat Singh failed to kill the right person. But women did not. If you look at the success rate, it is very high for women in revolutionary activities as compared to men. Even Bhagat Singh failed to kill the right person. Right, तो ऐसा है. या तो चापेकर ब्रदर्स थे, right, in 1890s, who were inspired by the Shivaji's utterances, which were like poems by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and a speech by your Bal Gangadhar Tilak in your Shivaji festival, that they killed the plague commissioner Rand. या तो वो सक्सेसफुल हुए थे, ठीक है. अदरवाइज देखो प्रफुल्ल चाकी, खुदीराम बोस, दे आर फेलिंग, राइट. तो ऐसा. या फिर वीर सावरकर भी सक्सेसफुल हुए थे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट वाज एग्जीक्यूटेड, राइट. तो दो तीन ही हैं जहां पे हम सक्सेसफुल हुए. अदरवाइज रेवोल्यूशनरी एक्टिविटीज में बिकॉज ऑफ द ब्रिटिश इंटेलिजेंस एटसेट्रा काफी टाइम फेलियर्स हैं, बट लेडीज खतरनाक, राइट. राइट डाउन स्कूल गर्ल्स प्लस स्कूल गर्ल्स शांति घोष, स्कूल गर्ल्स शांति घोष एंड सुनीति चौधरी, स्कूल गर्ल्स शांति घोष एंड सुनीति चौधरी. स्पेलिंग वेरी कर सकती है इंटरनेट पर, ठीक है. सुनीति चौधरी, चौधरी की स्पेलिंग इधर उधर हो जाती है. सुनीति चौधरी शॉट डेड DM, shot dead DM, district magistrate in 1931, shot dead DM in 1931. And Beena Das, BINADAS, Beena Das, shot governor, Beena Das shot governor during convocation ceremony. Beena Das shot governor during convocation ceremony. ड्यूरिंग कॉन्वोकेशन सेरेमनी, शॉट गवर्नर ड्यूरिंग कॉन्वोकेशन सेरेमनी, जब डिग्री मिलती है, कॉन्वोकेशन सेरेमनी। तुम्हें नहीं मिली डिग्री क्या अभी तक? तो कॉन्वोकेशन की नहीं हुई अभी तक, सेकेंड ईयर में हो तभी आएगा, फोर्थ ईयर आएगा, ठीक है, एक दिन थर्ड ईयर मिल जाएगी पक्का। कॉन्वोकेशन सेरेमनी, ठीक है ना ऐसा। एंड यू नो बीना दास वाज फॉलोअर ऑफ विच पर्सन? शी वाज डायड फॉलोअर ऑफ विच पर्सन? हु वाज हिज मेंटर? हु वाज हर मेंटर? नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बहुत डेंजरस आदमी है, हर जगह मिल जाते हैं, ठीक है, तो ऐसा। सो आई डोंट, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, मतलब नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस वाज सो फेमस, मतलब सो फेमस एंड सो इंस्पायरिंग, ठीक है, थ्रू आउट हिज लाइफ, right, that you know, imagine that the I'm forgetting the name, first women spy, right, so ऐसा of the मतलब revolutionary, there was a spy, right, and therefore she married, जैसे वो मूवी देखी आपने, वो कौन सी मूवी थी, दिलबरो कौन सी, बाजी है, राजी बाजी नहीं राजी है ना, तो something like that, so she married an Indian, and that Indian was part of the British CID, right, and then on one occasion, to save the life of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, she shot him dead. Ladies खतरनाक होती हैं. Write down next point. 1933 Nehru, 1933-Nehru, 1933-Nehru was arrested on sedition charges. 1933-Nehru was arrested on sedition charges. When he supported revolutionaries. Nehru, 1933-Nehru was arrested on sedition charges, SEDITION, when he supported revolutionaries. Full stop. In 1934, Surya Sen was captured. In 1934, Surya Sen was captured. नेहरू बहुत इंटेलिजेंट व्यक्ति हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा इंटेलिजेंट हैं। तो जब सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट चल रही थी, ठीक है, तो देखो इंटेलिजेंट आदमी कौन होता है, एक्चुअली में इंटेलिजेंट पॉलिटिक्स से ही है, ठीक है। इफ यू हैव टू बी लीडर ऑफ एवरी सेक्शन, तो वो कैसे होगा? सो व्हेन महात्मा गांधी इज लीडिंग द सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट, राइट, सो वहां पे तो देखो नॉन वायलेंस, ठीक। व्हेन द चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड इज राइजिंग फ्रॉम 1930 ऑनवर्ड्स, तो तब तो कुछ नहीं कह रहे, बट जब पता चल गया कि अभी जो चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड है वो तो डेड ही है बाय 1933, सबको पता ही है, सो फिर एक स्पीच दे दी, ठीक है, अरेस्ट हो गए, ठीक है, तो पॉपुलैरिटी जो नॉन गांधीयन सेगमेंट है उसमें भी बढ़ गई, है ना। लास्ट में मिठाई खानी चाहिए, राइट ऑन। व्हेन सपोर्टेड रेवोल्यूशनरीज, फुल स्टॉप। इन 1934 सूर्य सेन, नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस अलग थे, वो पहले से हैं, उनकी फोटो है सूर्य सेन के साथ 1930 से पहले, मतलब चित्तगोंग आर्मरी रेड से पहले, ठीक। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस अलग लेवल पे डेंजरस आदमी है। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस कितने टैलेंटेड थे एट द एज ऑफ 15-16, मतलब उनके आप डाइवर्सिटी देखें, एट द एज ऑफ 15-16 ही लेफ्ट हिज होम, व्हाई? टू बिकम अ सन्यासी, राइट। उसके बाद ही क्लियर्ड यूपीएससी, गॉट ऑल इंडिया रैंक 4, ठीक। आफ्टर दैट सपोजिटली, ऐसा 100% नहीं है श्योर, बट मूवीज का सीन का पार्ट तो बनाया गया, इफ द टीचर और द प्रोफेसर वाज सेइंग समथिंग एंटी इंडिया, ठीक है, वो ऐसा जूता निकाल के मारा, ठीक है, बट दैट इज नॉट देयर, मतलब ही सपोर्टेड दैट, बट मतलब लोग बोलते हैं वो उन्होंने खुद नहीं किया था, वो किसी उनके साथ वाले ने किया था, राइट, बट ही सपोर्टेड दैट, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, राइट। द ब्रिटिशर्स, दे वर, देन ही बिकेम मेंबर ऑफ INC, that is a politician also, right। The Britishers, they were so afraid of him, मतलब they thought him to be dangerous, that's why they ensured that he spent many years outside India, right, he was forced to stay outside of India, right। So Britishers at one point of time declared him to be most dangerous, ऐसा। So Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was a person who defeated Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi openly said that Pitta Sitaram Mia is my candidate. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose that said देखी जाएगी। In 1939 Tripuri session elections took place and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose turned out victorious. Mahatma Gandhi publicly declared that this is my personal defeat. That this is my personal defeat. And then the Gandhians, they came together and they plotted removal of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose from Indian National Congress. After that, he set up forward bloc to change INC from within. Within INC, उन्होंने बनाया forward bloc. But then he was arrested. Right. While in jail, he started hunger strike. After that, the Britishers, they were forced to put him in house arrest instead of jail. House arrest. Britishers, imagine, you know, so many people are failing against the British intelligence, but this man escapes dressed as an Afghan, right, acting like a spy via Afghanistan, and पता नहीं कहाँ से पहुँच के निकले कहाँ, Italy, Italy, है ना, Italy, ठीक है सर. Then the British gave, then recently some documents have come out, newspaper clipping was there, that as per some historians, right, Britishers, they gave clear directions to their intelligence services that assassinate Netaji Bose as soon as possible. Okay? But they could not assassinate him. Right? So, aisa. Then he is acting as a diplomat when he is talking to Hitler, when he is talking to Mussolini. Right? Disappointed with Hitler, etc. Then he travels to Japan. Right? He wanted to have 15 minutes of General Tojo, who is the head of Japanese military. Right? General Tojo made him wait for weeks. But when General Tojo met, the meeting, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, it went on for hours. Because General Tojo was very busy man, he was fighting World War II. Right? And then what did General Tojo said? He said, I am giving you a blank check. The whole Japan, it is at, resources are at your disposal. Whatever you want from Japan, it is there with you. Consider it done. You know, so imagine what kind of personality he would be having, what kind of brains he would be having, what kind of plans he would be having. Right, that kind of. Plus, he made General Tojo say in public that Japan promises that it has no designs to make India a colony. Right, aisa. Think this kind of scenario was there. So after that, he's becoming an army chief. Right, Azad Hind Fauj. He is becoming leader of diaspora. Many of the diaspora, when Rani Jhansi regiment is being set up as part of Azad Hind Fauj of females, ladies, who are these ladies? The POWs or the prisoners of wars of the British Indian Army. British Indian Army did not have ladies. These were diaspora ladies. These were NRI ladies who were so inspired by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose that they joined Azad Hind Fauj. People contributed huge amount of wealth. People contributed their family members. Right? This kind of scenario was there. Right? Then great slogans. तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा दिल्ली चलो. Right? No political ambitions as such. In one of the speech, for example, he said that there are those among us who would like to retire from politics once the freedom for India it is achieved. Right? So no great ambition to be this prime minister, that prime minister. He named his government Provisional Government of Hindustan or Provisional Government of India. General Tojo asked him, I was reading a book, Subhas, General Tojo asked him that why are you naming it as provisional? Name it permanent, simple Government of India. So he said, no, the permanent Government of India can only be as per democracy. It can only be as per the wish of the big leaders of the Indian national movement, like Mahatma Gandhi and others. Right? So this kind of scenario. तो कोई पावर ईश्वर पर नहीं थे. नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र उसको बदनाम करने की कोशिश की जाती है कि हिटलर के साथ हाथ मिला लिया, ये हाथ मिला लिया, वो हाथ मिला लिया. My enemy's enemy is my friend. As simple as that. एक इंसिडेंट तो ये भी हुआ था. When Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was interacting with Hitler, Hitler did not know English. So he's speaking German. They are proud of German language. Right? Some translator was there. So Hitler started giving gyan. Indians they should do that, Indians they should do that. So after some time, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose told the translator that please ask His Highness or please ask Mr. Hitler that not to tell Indians what to do. The translator never translated that because he knew that neither he will be alive. So ऐसा, ठीक है. So this kind of, so वैसा है, right? So तो इस प्रकार से. And the simple logic of my enemy is my friend. Right? That is the real politics. Today we have good relations or we have decent relations with Myanmar. In Myanmar democracy थोड़ी है उस प्रकार से. Right? तो डिपेंड करता है अपने नेशनल इंटरेस्ट सर्वोपरि. सिंपल सी बात ये होती है. Right? So that is what is there. So anyways, तो ऐसा है. ठीक है, तो करेंगे. When we'll come to 1942, then we'll discuss Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Right? But Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, dangerous person. Then Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose could not be caught. ठीक है, he did not die in the plane crash. Why he did not die in the plane crash? Although government of India says he died, but Mukherjee Commission, which was set up in 2004, it came to a conclusion that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose did not die in the plane crash. Plane crash took place in Taiwan. Right? When Japan got defeated, so therefore he got into a plane with some treasure, etc. Right? His plans were probably to go to Russia or something because he was a socialist. Russia was communist. Right? So Taiwan में plane crash हुआ and supposedly ऐसा news आया that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose died of burns. Right? Died of burns. अब उसके बाद many of the commissions have been set up by the government of India multiple times. Right? एक कमीशन नहीं, दो कमीशन नहीं, तीन कमीशन, चार कमीशन सेटअप हो चुके हैं, राइट, बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट हाउ नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस डाइड और वेदर ही डाइड. राइट, एक कमीशन से तो काम भी नहीं चल रहा. राइट, सच काइंड ऑफ कंट्रोवर्सी इट इज देयर. सो ही इज आल्सो द मोस्ट कंट्रोवर्शियल पर्सनालिटी. राइट, publicly famous even till now, this kind of scenario. And he was very young. He was 10-12 years younger than Jawaharlal Nehru ji. And your Mahatma Gandhi was of his father's age. Right, very young, personality. ऐसा, ठीक है. अब उसके बाद finally Mukherjee Commission said that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose has not died, although the government of India rejected the findings of Mukherjee Commission. But Justice Mukherjee was from Supreme Court. Right, Supreme Court said that. So why? Because it was the first commission which actually went to Taiwan, who asked the government of Taiwan, and the government of Taiwan said that on that day no plane crash took place in Taiwan. Imagine so many earlier commissions, they never went to Taiwan also. Right, whenever the demand was made that the commission should go to Taiwan, so the government would say that there is no requirement to go to Taiwan. Right, ऐसा करके. So only the Mukherjee Commission went to Taiwan. अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी की गवर्नमेंट उस टाइम पे थी. राइट, सो इट केम टू अ कंक्लूजन दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. बट हाँ, हमेशा एक चीज ये कही गई है दैट मेनी ऑफ द फैक्ट्स दे कैन नॉट बी रिवील्ड रिगार्डिंग नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस डेथ बिकॉज इट विल हर्ट इंडियाज, इट इज नॉट इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ इंडियाज फॉरेन रिलेशंस. राइट, तो उसमें फिर बहुत सारी कॉन्ट्रोवर्सी थियरीज हैं कि क्या है ऐसा, क्या है ऐसा. सम पीपल एलेज, इट इज नो गारंटी, सम पीपल एलेज दैट देयर वाज सम एग्रीमेंट विद द ब्रिटिशर्स दैट वील हैंड ओवर नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस टू यू और सम इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शन विल बी अप्लाइड, समथिंग, वो तो सब ऐसा ही है, कॉन्ट्रोवर्सी है, उसके बारे में कुछ है नहीं, ठीक है. बट ऐसा हाँ, बट दिस थिंग इज ऑलवेज देयर. जब RTI वगैरह लोग फाइल करते हैं तो उसमें यही फिर आता है दैट रिवीलिंग सम ऑफ द डिटेल्स विल लीड टू हर्टिंग इंडियाज फॉरेन रिलेशंस. राइट, तो ऐसा है. सो योर लॉर्ड माउंटबैटन, he destroyed the Azad in Fauj, this thing monument which was set up in either in Singapore or in Malaya, this kind of scenario. Right, तो इस टाइप से चीजें हैं. Right, some people they say that 15th of August was chosen by Mountbatten as our Independence Day because on that day he defeated the Japanese forces and the Azad in Fauj. Right, 15th of August. तो अगर ऐसा है तो हमारी तो बड़ी आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस हो जाएगी कि हर साल हम 15th अगस्त को एवरी ईयर वी सेलिब्रेट आवर इंडिपेंडेंस डे. राइट, तो कैसा मजाक हो गया है, तो ठीक है, आपके साथ मजाक ही कर दिया उन्होंने अंग्रेजों ने. ठीक है, अंग्रेज बने नहीं तो हैं. राइट, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. ठीक, तो एनीवेज, ऑल्दो टेक्निकली INA नेवर सरेंडर्ड, टेक्निकली INA डिड नॉट, मतलब नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस नेवर सरेंडर्ड. So therefore one can say that 15th of August was not the day because Mountbatten was the head of the Southeast Asian wing of the British Army. He was from the royal family and he was also heading the Southeast Asian wing of the British Army in the World War II. ऐसा, right? तो ये है. तो anyways, so write down now heading 1927. 1927 heading है 1927 dash Indian Statutory Commission. Indian Statutory Commission. Indian Statutory Commission. Or Simon Commission. Or Simon Commission. Or Simon Commission. In brackets, John Simon. In brackets, John Simon. लिखना तो मैं लिख लूँ, मैं तो काट दिया. John Simon. So John Simon was the name, right? So basically it was a 7-member Simon Commission, and the Britishers, they had promised us in the Montagu Statement of 1917. Montagu Statement 1917, the Britishers, they had promised us that gradually we will give you Swaraj. They had said that henceforth the British policy towards India is gradual development of self-governing institutions with a view to progressive realization of responsible government in India within British Empire. Right? That is nothing but 2 words, that gradually we will give you Swaraj within the British Empire. Right? That is their promise which they have made in 1917. And since the word gradual and progressive is there, so our expectation is that every next step is going to bring us closer to Swaraj within the British Raj. Right? So you brought the Government of India Act 1919, it was a step closer to Swaraj, but we were dissatisfied. We were dissatisfied with diarchy. We were dissatisfied with division of subjects between center and the states. We were dissatisfied that universal franchise was not brought. Right? These kind of scenarios we were dissatisfied. In the Government of India Act 1919, there was a provision that after 10 years, there will be a commission which will again look at the next set of reforms. Why that provision is there? Because of Montagu Statement. When Montagu Statement has promised us that step by step, they will give us Swaraj. So therefore, in the first step, there is a mention that the next step will be after 10 years. When the Britishers, they have said in the Montagu Statement that we will give you Swaraj step by step. So in the first step, that is the Government of India Act 1919, there is a mention that when will be the next step, and therefore it was written that after 10 years, we are going to set up a commission, we will take a relook at the reforms. So that is why Simon Commission was set up 2 years in advance. Ideally, it should have been set up in 1929, but fine, it was set up 2 years in advance, right? This is probably because of revolutionary activities or whatever, right? So 2 years in advance, right? But the problem is, in this, all the members are the Britishers, and there is no Indian member, and therefore we feel that this is not in line with Swaraj. If you had promised us gradual Swaraj, so constitution framing may, there should be some say of Indians. Why there is no Indian in the constitution framing or in the framing of the next Government of India Act? So therefore we started, Congress gave a call for resignation from the legislative assemblies and your CLA. Remember 1923 elections to CLA, Swarajis, they had participated. So now people resigned, and after this your protests are going to start against the Simon Commission, right? At this particular point of time, the Secretary of State was Birkenhead, BIR, Birkenhead. ये बाद में लिखेंगे. So he was speaking in the British Parliament, and he challenged the Indians that you have it in you, then why don't you frame a constitution? So what was the challenge? Challenge was, if you have it in you, तो बना के दिखा दो constitution. Now among the Indian leaders, very brilliant lawyers were there. So framing of the constitution by INC was not a problem. Framing of the constitution by Muslim League was also not a problem, right? Muhammad Ali Jinnah was also a good lawyer, right? The problem, you know what was? The challenge was? Challenge was that you Indian leaders are so divided. INC is so divided with Muslim League, is so divided with others, or you quarrel so much among each other, you are so not united that you cannot come up with a constitution to which everyone is in agreement. So challenge was of unity. Challenge was of unity. Challenge was not this कि INC तू बना के दिखा दे constitution, बना के दिखा देगा. Challenge was not कि Muslim League तू बना के दिखा देगा, बना के दिखा देगा. Challenge was that you are divided and you cannot come to a compromise, you cannot come to an agreement for a constitution which is agreeable to everyone, right? So therefore now in 1927, Indian National Congress in its Madras session took up the challenge. But you see, what is the challenge? Challenge is unity wala. So INC proposes that let all the political parties of India form a APC, all party conference, right? And this all party conference is formed to draft the constitution. And a subcommittee of this APC, it is set up under father of Jawaharlal Nehru, that is Motilal Nehru. And Motilal Nehru led subcommittee of the all party conference gave Motilal Nehru report in August 1928, which was basically having principles of constitution. So from the perspective of prelims, This is how if you study for mains. Therefore, it should not be tough for you. You will not get confused if prelims mein UPSC asks that Nehru report, which of the following statements are correct? Nehru report was by Indian National Congress. Next, Nehru report was by All Party Conference. Right? You will not get confused because you understand the logic. You know the background. You know that Birkenhead ने challenge ये नहीं दिया था that INC constitution बना के थे. Challenge was कि Indian leaders constitution बना के थे. So challenge was that you people, you cannot act unitedly. तुम्हारे disputes ही इतने. Right? This kind of scenario. Right? So ऐसा है. Ultimately Birkenhead was proven right. Why? Because Muslim League finally did not agree to many of the provisions of this constitution. So therefore all other political parties, they had come to a compromise. किसी ने कुछ compromise किया, किसी ने कुछ compromise किया, but Muslim League की जो demands थी, they were not accepted, or partially they were accepted. All of them they were not accepted, and therefore Muslim League was not in agreement with the Nehru report finally. So in this sense, Birkenhead was laughing that our policy of divide and rule, which had begun since the census of 1872, which had continued with the partition of Bengal, which had continued with separate electorates of 1909, they have given us great fruits, and you see, ultimately we are winning the challenge. Right? This kind of scenario. Right? So write down first sub point. Appointed as per GY 1919. Appointed as per GY 1919. Appointed as per GY 1919. That had provision for review of constitutional reforms, that had provision of review of constitutional reforms after 10 years, that had provision of review of constitutional reforms after 10 years. Therefore, appointed 2 years in advance. Therefore, appointed 2 years in advance. Next point, INC opposed it. INC opposed it. As no Indian in 7 members. INC opposed it as no Indian in 7 members. And this was against principle of self-government. And this was against principle of self-government promised by principle of self-government promised by Montague Statement. Principle of self-government promised by Montague Statement 1917. Principle of self-government promised by Montague Statement 1917. And Indians were denied, say, 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 in their future constitution. And Indians were denied say in their future constitution. Next point. मतलब इंडियंस से आप पूछ ही नहीं रहे क्या होने चाहिए. नो इंडियन इज देयर इन द मेंबर. सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, SOS Birkenhead. SOS Birkenhead. SOS Birkenhead challenged SOS Birkenhead challenged Indians to draft a constitution. Challenged Indians to draft a constitution. Challenged Indians to draft a constitution. As he did not believe, challenged Indians to draft a constitution, as he did not believe that Indians could overcome their differences, as he did not believe that Indians could overcome their differences. Could not overcome their differences, to act unitedly, to act unitedly, to act unitedly. Siddharth is asking what was position of extremists during 1931. See, in a way the whole INC or majority of the INC, it turns Gandhian after 1920. It turns Gandhian after 1920, right? So ऐसा है, because everyone is following, everyone is accepting the principle of non-violence. No one would have a problem with spirituality. Otherwise, Mahatma Gandhi's passive resistance common with the extremists, right? So ऐसे books, they do not talk about any separate this thing of separate view of extremists. But yes, INC does talk about अब कौन है? Until Mahatma Gandhi, moderates and extremists in INC, है ना? After rise of Mahatma Gandhi in 1920s, there is young left-wing leaders like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, right? And kind of like right of center, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and C. Rajagopalachari. So issue later on, especially in your late 1920s and early 1930s, the issue is left-wing versus right-wing now. जो moderate versus extremist था, so that was on the question of method. But the question of method has been resolved by the 1920 Nagpur session. Na? INC as an organization has decided that our goal is Swaraj by peaceful means. And peaceful means they include extra constitutional means. तो जो moderates और extremists की जो लड़ाई थी, that was over methods and that is being resolved by 1920. अब नई लड़ाई start हुई in 1922 लड़ाई थी, no changes, pro changes की. And going forward, the fight is between young left-wing leaders like Netaji Subhash Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, and some right-of-center leaders like your Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and your C. Rajagopalachari, who was there from Tamil Nadu, right? ऐसा. तो ये अब फाइट है एक्चुअली. तो जो यंग लेफ्ट विंग लीडर्स थे, राइट, यंग लेफ्ट विंग लीडर्स थे, एंड बीच में बहुत सारे गांधीयंस भी थे, मतलब एवरीवन इज फॉलोइंग गांधी जी. तो ऐसे तो जो यंग लेफ्ट विंग लीडर्स हैं, दे वर वेरी एंग्री. फॉर एग्जांपल, some articles they say that the differences between Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi, they took a decisive turn here in 1931. So Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose wanted Mahatma Gandhi to take a very, very strong stand in favor of commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh. He wanted Mahatma Gandhi to end the Gandhi-Irwin Pact or to not sign the Gandhi-Irwin Pact of 1931, that if you do not commute the death sentence of Bhagat Singh, then I am not signing the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Right? ऐसा होना चाहिए INC का stand या गांधी जी का stand. But Mahatma Gandhi did not adopt that position. He did not want the Gandhi-Irwin Pact to die because of this issue of commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh. And after that, some articles they say, mainstream books तो इस बारे में कुछ ज़्यादा बात नहीं करती हैं, वो बिल्कुल चुप हो जाती हैं इस वाले इशू पे, बट अदरवाइज ये कहा जाता है. तो वहाँ पे एक तरीके से कुछ गुस्सा, नाराजगी ऐसा, especially the youth of the country got angry with Mahatma Gandhi, and that's why the youth, they did not participate in the civil disobedience movement of the second phase, या मतलब आप कह लो मतलब 1930 से ही they were inspired by Bhagat Singh, and after death of Bhagat Singh they are not interested, so second phase में भी they did not participate. ऐसा करके रहा, right? Anyways, write down next point. 1927 INC Madras session. 1927 INC Madras session. Dash INC decided to boycott Simon Commission. 1927 INC Madras session. Dash INC decided to boycott Simon Commission. INC decided to boycott Simon Commission. And decided to set up APC. And decided to set up APC. In brackets, all party conference. Decided to set up APC. In brackets, all party conference. For drafting. Principles of Constitution. For drafting principles of Constitution. हर एक वर्ड ध्यान से लिखवाया जाता है. हमने लिखा है प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. वाई सी एक्चुअल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो होता है वो बहुत टेक्निकल होता है. द एक्चुअल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज लाइक अ कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम, राइट? कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम, इट इज वेरी वेरी टेक्निकल, राइट? बट प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज लाइक की ओवरऑल थीम ऑफ आर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. टेक्निकलिटीज अपार्ट कि अंडर सबसेक्शन दिस, वो जो एक्स्ट्रा डिटेल्स हैं, दोज थिंग्स विल डील लेटर, बट दीज आर द बेसिक पिलर्स ऑफ आर फ्यूचर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, right? That is basic agreement in the principles. So therefore the Nehru report was not a constitution, it had principles of constitution, right? It was a small document having principles. As a proper technical full constitution नहीं था, but principles of constitution, right? तो ऐसा प्रियम्बल तो बहुत छोटा हो जाता है. प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऐसा रहेगा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको ये बोलता हूं कि विदाउट आर्टिकल नंबर एंड विदाउट चैप्टर नंबर, please tell me what do you know about the Constitution of India, right? So whatever points that you'll be writing, that Constitution guarantees fundamental rights, right, XYZ, right? So एक principle है. You are not going into technicalities, you are writing like a summary of Constitution. If I ask you to write down a summary of Constitution after your polity classes, so therefore those are like principles of constitution, जहाँ पे आप आर्टिकल नंबरिंग में नहीं जा रहे हैं, टेक्निकल लैंग्वेज में नहीं जा रहे हैं, लीगल लैंग्वेज में उतना ज़्यादा नहीं जा रहे हैं, उस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. हाँ जी, नहीं आप ये समझिए उसकी वो सोल ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो दे रहे हैं आपको, है ना? सोल ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. जैसे केशवानंद भारती केस में एक बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर दिया गया. सो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर क्या है? कोर प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, है ना? हाँ, मतलब फ्यूचर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कैसा हो, ऐसा. हाँ, मतलब फ्यूचर वो हम डिस्कस करेंगे, नेहरू रिपोर्ट विल डिस्कस, राइट? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. ऑल पार्टी कॉन्फ्रेंस फॉर ड्राफ्टिंग प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, देयर वर एंटी साइमन कमीशन एजिटेशंस, देयर वर एंटी साइमन कमीशन प्रोटेस्ट्स, एजिटेशंस कुछ भी कह लो. देयर वर एंटी साइमन कमीशन एजिटेशंस. When it arrived in India, in October 1928, when it arrived in India in October 1928, when it arrived in India in October 1928, full stop here. LL Rai died in November 1928. Here, Lala Lajpat Rai died in November 1928. So अक्टूबर में साइमन कमीशन आया, एंटी कमीशन प्रोटेस्ट स्टार्ट हुए, लाला लाजपत राय के ऊपर लाठीचार्ज हुआ नवंबर 1928 में, है ना? Here he died. ठीक. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट डाउन. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट डाउन. 4 Delhi proposals. 4 Delhi proposals. 4 numeric 4 Delhi proposals, December 1927. 4 Delhi proposals, December 1927. Right? So basically these proposals are by Muslim League and they are being given to Motilal Nehru, right? That these are the demands of the Muslim League. Please include these things in the constitution that you are going to draft, right? Now these proposals, they were accepted by Motilal Nehru and INC, but later on not fully accepted by the all party conference, right? Aisa. So what are these proposals? So these proposals are, for example, Muslim League is demanding that at least 1/3 seats should be reserved for the Muslims in the central legislature. 1/3 माने 33%. What is the population of Muslims? 20%. So see, they are demanding reservation not in proportion to percentage in population, but more than percentage in population, right? तो थोड़ा फ्रंट फुट पे खेल रहे हो, ठीक है? प्रिंसिपल ऑफ नेगोशिएशन, इतना मांगोगे तो इतना बनेगा, ठीक है? कभी भी मम्मी को देख लिया करो, ठीक है? लेडीज दे नो हाउ टू नेगोशिएट. अपन को गाइज दे डोंट नो हाउ टू नेगोशिएट. हम बैकफुट पे चले जाते हैं. हमारे लिए अदर पर्सन आस्क 500 रुपीज एट मैक्स, आई विल से भाई 400. ही विल से नहीं देता. आई विल ठीक है भाई नहीं दे रहा. मम्मी शॉपकीपर 500, मम्मी का ऑफर 50 रुपीज, शॉपकीपर 400, मम्मी का ऑफर 100, शॉपकीपर 350, मम्मी का ऑफर 200, शॉपकीपर ऑफ 250, डील डन, 50%. तो एनीवेज, well, they are trying to, फन वे कह रहा हूँ, but they are trying to, demand more, right? They are trying to secure their political interest of the Muslim League. They are trying to secure by asking this kind of scenario. Second demand that they come out with is that there should be creation of more Muslim majority provinces. Why? Because if there are more Muslim majority provinces, then more Muslim League leaders will be able to become chief ministers. So see, this will give them more power. Third thing they demand, they don't want to lose an inch, right? So they say, even in those provinces where Muslims are in majority, right, their reservation should be given. Usually reservation it is for minorities, right? So in Punjab and Bengal, they were in majority, and they said that if we are having 54% population in Punjab, then 54% seats in the provincial legislative assembly in future should be reserved for the Muslims, right? So usually it is for minority, but they are demanding also where they are in majority, right? What is the fourth proposal? Since they are asking too much, so as a condition, for the first time and for the last time, Muslim League utters a phrase whereby they say, we are ready to go for joint electorates if above three demands are met. That is, we are ready to give up separate electorates if above demand. Beginning from the Simla deputation 1906, Simla deputation के बाद बनी थी Muslim League. So from day one their demand was separate electorates. Throughout after that until 1947, the only time that the Muslim League is saying that they are ready to give up separate electorates and they are ready to have joint electorates, right? It is here. But it is conditional. It is a bargaining thing that if you give us reservation, 1/3 reservation at the center, plus reservation in Muslim majority provinces of Punjab and Bengal, plus create more Muslim majority provinces. कौन से? Separate Sindh from Bombay, and therefore Sindh will be a Muslim majority province, plus Northwest Frontier province. It was a union territory. At that time, union territory was called Chief Commissioner province. Right? उस time पे union territory was called Chief Commissioner province. So give it full statehood. Like Arvind Kejriwal demands, and all political parties, whenever they are in power, they demand that Delhi should be given full statehood. Right? So convert a UT into a full state. Convert UT into full state. Right? For example, in 1986, Arunachal Pradesh, it was created as a state. Earlier, it was a union territory. Right? Mizoram was created into a state. Earlier, it was a union territory. Right? So Sikkim to different case hai, right? So therefore this kind of a scenario. Okay. Plus you give full statehood to Baluchistan. Baluchistan was also like a chief commissioner province, right? So this is their demand, creation of more Muslim majority provinces, right? So aisa. Okay. So this is what they are demanding. So yeah, so they want 3 new Muslim majority provinces, right? These demands are accepted by ANC but not by APC later on, right? So write down first sub point. From ML to Motilal Nehru, from ML to Motilal Nehru, from ML to Motilal Nehru, and accepted by INC, but later rejected by APC, right? Second sub point. So what are the demands? 1/3 reservation, 1/3 reservation for Muslims, 1/3 reservation for Muslims in central legislature, 1/3 reservation for Muslims in central legislature. Second demand, create 3 new Muslim majority provinces. Create 3 new Muslim majority provinces. One is 1/3 reservation for Muslims in central legislature. Second demand is create 3 new Muslim majority provinces. ये फ्रेज बार बार आने वाला है, लंबा भी है, इसको MMP लिख लें, मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंस. क्रिएट 3 न्यू मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस. Dash by separating Sindh from Bombay, by separating Sindh from Bombay, and by separating Sindh from Bombay and by giving status of full province, to Baluchistan and NWFP, to Baluchistan and Northwest Frontier Province, NWFP. Exam में if you write NWFP, no problem, no one is going to cut your marks or anything, right? It is used in the books, NWFP, right? Third demand, reservation even in Muslim majority provinces, reservation even in MMPs, of Punjab and Bengal, reservation even in Muslim majority provinces of Punjab and Bengal, MMPs of Punjab and Bengal, right? Next point, if above met, fourth point है, if above met, then ready for joint electorates. If above met, then ready for joint electorates. If above met, then ready for joint electorates. Full stop. Therefore, first and last time, ML, agreed to joint electorates. First and last time, ML agreed to joint electorates. Just for the sake of revision, joint electorates, separate electorates, ये कहने का तरीका है, if we have to be technically correct, we should say reservation with separate electorates versus reservation with joint electorates. Reservation with joint electorates, it is today. If a seat it is reserved for scheduled caste, all the communities they vote, and therefore he is representative of the whole constituency. But if there is reservation with separate electorates, then only that community for which the seat is reserved will be having voting rights, right? So that is there. What is the political logic of separate electorates? The political logic of separate electorates is that if there is separate electorates for the Muslims, then chances are much higher that Muslim League candidate, they will be winning the elections. Why? Because only Muslims will vote. If Hindus and Sikh will also vote, then let's say Indian National Congress puts up a Muslim candidate. Because it is INC candidate, he will get vote of Muslims also, he will get vote of Sikh also. Plus he will also get vote of some Muslims or some ठीक-ठाक percentage of Muslims, not more than 50%, but maybe 20% Muslims, 30% Muslims, they will vote for him because INC is a secular organization. Therefore, leading to overall more than 50% votes for INC candidate. So, separate electorates has political logic that if only Muslims will vote, then chances are much better for Muslim League's candidate to win the election. Because any which ways, Hindus and Sikh, they are not going to vote for a communal Muslim League organization, because name ही है Muslim League, so the organization itself is telling the people that we are going to work for Muslims only. So therefore it is very natural that other communities, they will not be much inclined or they will not be inclined to vote for Muslim League until unless some kind of coalition is there between INC and Muslim League in some election, ऐसा करके. So political logic is with separate electorates, chances of Muslim League candidate winning elections are much better as compared to with joint electorates, right? So that's why, right? So it is all political logic, right? Right, so we'll meet after 10 minutes and then we'll be discussing. Write down the heading, Motilal Nehru Report, August 1928. Motilal Nehru Report, August 1928. Right, so let's settle back. So in the Nehru report, two kind of provisions are there. One kind of provisions which are not important. They are simply like just for the purposes of prelims, right? But low chances that this kind of scenario would be, but fine. They are like, that what did they say constitutionally, right? But politically, the important provisions are those provisions where they accept some of the demands of the Muslim League and reject some of the demands of the Muslim League. Because they reject some of the demands of the Muslim League, therefore in December 1928, this is August 1928, in December 1928, Muslim League they suggest 3 amendments to the Nehru report. And this is called 3 Calcutta amendments. All of those 3 Calcutta amendments were rejected by the APC. That means all other political parties, they rejected the demands of Muslim League. And then Muslim League became angry, and in March 1929, it gave 14-point demands. 14-point demands, they were the summary of any communal demand ever made by any Muslim organization so far. Right? So 14-point demands kind of like starts the project properly of Pakistan. So that is the importance of Nehru report. The tussle between the Muslim League and other political parties, and Muslim League adopting 14-point demands because APC did not agree to their 3 Calcutta amendments. This is the turning point, or this is the important point where journey towards Pakistan begins. Muslim League begins the project of Pakistan. They did not demand Pakistan at that point of time, but a lot of communal demands are present and very aggressive stand it is taken by the Muslim League. So that is why we are discussing the Nehru report. Right. So पहले बोरिंग वाले प्रोविजंस लिख लेते हैं, है ना? तो राइट ऑन. अच्छा, एक और चीज है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1919 वाज ओनली फॉर ब्रिटिश इंडिया, एंड फ्रॉम द ब्रिटिश साइड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 वाज द फर्स्ट एक्ट which was for British India as well as 565 princely states. Right. So for the first time, technically, legally, where do the Britishers they talk about a possible united India? It is Government of India Act 1935, right? And where do the Indians talk about a possible united India? Nehru Report 1928 was also demanding a united India, right? So from that perspective also technically एक interesting point है कि 565 princely states they were argued that they should be part of India, kind of like for the first time by the Nehru Report 1928. But at least a proposal was there, right? ऐसा रहेगा. And what is their proposal? Interesting चीज है, like there was article 370 with respect to Jammu and Kashmir, right? So just for the sake of understanding, imagine that you're going to have article 370 like situation for the 565 princely states, right? And for the British India you're going to have a strong center. When you have article 370, then the Union Government of India is not as strong over Jammu and Kashmir as it is strong over rest of India, because article 370 gives more powers to the Jammu and Kashmir, or gave more powers to the Jammu and Kashmir, right? This kind of scenario. So therefore what is being proposed is something like article 370 for the 565 princely states, but for British India strong center and weak provinces. एक और तरीका है देखने का. It is kind of like subsidy alliance was there, and in the subsidy alliance, defense, foreign policy, they were with the Britishers. Rest of the things they were with the princely states. So what is being proposed is kind of like a subsidy alliance between British India or the Union Government of India and the 565 princely states. That is, the Union Government will have powers over the princely states only in matters of defense, foreign affairs, this kind of scenario. But otherwise, princely states they will continue to be independent internally. The Indian ruler can do anything that he wants to do in other subjects. So ऐसा structure एक बन के आ रहा है that there will be Union Government of India, right? This Union Government will have loads of powers with respect to British India. So this structure will be a unitary structure, but with respect to the 565 princely states, the Union Government will be weak and more powers will be there with the princely states, right? So ऐसा इसको बोला जाएगा फेडरल रिलेशंस, बिकॉज फेडरल रिलेशंस में क्या, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय फेडरलिज्म? फेडरलिज्म, हाँ जी, सेंटर स्टेट सेंटर स्टेट सेंटर स्टेट ऐसे करके हम याद करते हैं. बट व्हाट इज द सोल ऑफ फेडरलिज्म? द सोल ऑफ फेडरलिज्म इज that there should be that there are strong states, or at least that much strong states like the center, right? Federal relations ले देखिए फिर क्या होता है, that center does not have right to interfere in the designated affairs of the states. So federalism, it is about independence, not full independence, but मेरे domain में you will not enter. Federalism is like, mama, this is my room, what are you doing in my room? Right, this is my room, get out. Right, this is my domain. Right, just try to connect it with your own life. When you turn 18 years of age or 14 years of age, after that you want something to be your domain. Right, you do not want your parents to be peeking into your diaries, है ना? Peeking into your bags. Right, पता चले कोई birthday card निकल आए. Right, इस kind of scenario. Right, so you're demanding, I have federal powers. Where is federalism, mama? Right? So it is basically federalism. क्या theme है federalism की? Federalism की theme है non-interference. Federalism की theme है non-interference. By those which are more powerful, they should not interfere in the affairs of those who are relatively less powerful. और equal sharing of powers. फिर हम जब specific हो जाते हैं तो usually we think about federal relations as vertical relations between center and state. But federalization, they can be horizontal also. For example, here you will say that federal relations between British India and princely states, they can be horizontal also. It simply means that British India or the Union Government of India, which must be dominated, which would be dominated by British India, right, because of 78% population. No? This British India has 78% population. So naturally the Union Government of India will be dominated by the leaders from the British India. So when you say federal relations between British India and the princely states as part of the Nehru report, you're basically saying that this government will not be interfering too much in the affairs of the princely states. Right? So जरूर नहीं है that federal relations are always vertical. Federal relations जब हम नेहरू रिपोर्ट पढ़ते हैं तो only when we understand federal relations as non-interference and we think about the possibility that federal relations can also be horizontal, then we will be able to understand this line, which it is written in the books, that Nehru report proposed federal relations between British India and princely states. It is that non-interference, right? तो लेमैन तरीके से भी समझा दिया, आर्टिकल 370 के तरीके से भी समझा दिया, सब्सिडी अलायंस के भी तरीके से समझा दिया. इससे ज़्यादा मैं नहीं समझा सकता. पॉइंट नंबर 1 लिखिए. APC set up under M.A. Ansari. APC set up under M.A. Ansari in Delhi in 1928. In Delhi in 1928. And a committee under it was set up under Motilal Nehru, and a committee under it was set up under Motilal Nehru for drafting principles of constitution. In May 1928. For drafting principles of constitution in May 1928. Next point, recos or proposals. Dominion status. Proposals, dominion status. To India. Dominion status to India. That is sovereignty with British Crown. Plus Britain can change constitution. Sovereignty with British Crown plus Britain can change constitution. plus Britain to have defense and foreign policy, Britain to have defense and foreign policy control, Britain to have defense and foreign policy control, plus self-government to Indians, plus self-government to Indians in all other spheres, plus self-government to Indians in all other spheres, in all other spheres, in brackets star लगा के, therefore max self-government, that can be had without leaving empire, maximum self-government that can be had without leaving British Empire, maximum self-government that can be had without leaving British Empire, है ना? ये पॉइंट हमने पहले भी डिस्कस किया when we discussed the concept of Swaraj. So they wanted dominion status, their demand was not Poon Swaraj. Next, a union of India having British India, a union of India having British India and 565 PS, a union of India having British India and 565 princely states, 565 PS. Full stop. Federal relations between British India, federal relations between British India and 565 PS. Federal relations between British India and 565 PS. And 565 PS. Bracket में स्टार लगा के, that is non-interference in internal affairs of 565 PS. That is non-interference in internal affairs of 565 PS. Non-interference in internal affairs of 565 PS. Brackets closed. Next point. Linguistic organization of provinces. Linguistic organization of provinces. Linguistic organization of provinces. अच्छा बताइए कहाँ के, ब्रिटिश इंडिया के या प्रिंसली स्टेट्स के? ब्रिटिश इंडिया. Why? Because the word provinces, it is always used for British India, right? And states, it is used for princely states before independence. नाम भी देखिए, provincial legislative assembly, it is only for British India, ठीक? And second, on one side you are saying non-interference in the internal affairs of the princely states, and how in the next line you can mention about territorial reorganization of the princely states? ऐसा तो नहीं कर सकते आप, right? So that is why. So लिखिए linguistic organization of provinces of British India. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के, Tilak's demand at the rate HRL 1916-18. Tilak's demand at the rate Home Rule League movement 1916-18. Tilak's demand at the rate HRL 1916-18. बट वो सिर्फ बंगाल के लिए था. HRL में दे आर आस्किंग फॉर होल ऑफ ब्रिटिश इंडिया, है ना. प्लस 1917 INC also demanded. Plus 1917 INC also demanded. एक नया सा फैक्टर है, ठीक है. तो ऐसा डिमांड पहले भी था, तो दे आर कंटिन्यूइंग लिंग्विस्टिक रिऑर्गेनाइजेशन. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. अ सुप्रीम कोर्ट with judiciary independent from executive. A Supreme Court with judiciary independent from executive. Next point. Judiciary independent of executive. A Supreme Court with judiciary independent of executive. Next point. Unitary structure for British India. Unitary structure for British India. That is strong center. Unitary structure for British India, that is strong center. And residuary powers, that is strong center. And residuary powers, residual powers with provinces. Sorry, with center. Residuary powers with center. You understand what are residual powers? That is, if there is a subject which is not there in either of the lists of the 7th schedule, then who will have the power to make law on it, and who will have the power to be minister on it? That is the residual powers. It happens, for example, crypto. Right? Someone can say that cryptocurrency, matlab aisa imagine kariye that something new comes up like cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency will be managed by who? Or crypto will be managed by who? So therefore, if there is any confusion, it will be managed by the center. Today we have that unitary feature. So that is what they are also proposing. Next point, GG to function on aid and advice, GG to function on aid and advice of Executive Council. Governor General to function. So many of the times Viceroy, it is used synonymously, GG it is used synonymously with Viceroy even after 1858, right? जैसे यहाँ पे GG बोला गया है, ठीक ना? Executive Council. Bracket में स्टार लगा के, that is like President of today. That is like President of today, brackets closed. They want to make Viceroy or Governor General powerless, and all the powers they should be with the elected ministers and the Executive Council. Next point, bicameral legislature, bicameral legislature, bicameral legislature with 5-year term for lower house, bicameral legislature with 5-year term for lower house, 5-year term for lower house, and 7-year term for upper house, and 7-year term for upper house, 7-year term for upper house. Next, UAF, Universal Adult Franchise, UAF, Universal Adult Franchise, Universal Adult Franchise, which means that right to vote should not be linked with income criteria. Anyone who is considered as an adult, he should be having right to vote. Usually in those times 21 years was considered as the age. Now it is 18 years, right? But initially when Universal Adult Franchise was introduced, in Britain etc., age was 21 years. अभी आजकल वो 18 years हो गई, ठीक है ऐसा. Next point, DPSPs, Universal Adult Franchise. Next point, DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policy. DPSP हो गया पॉलिटी में? नहीं हुआ, स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ. DPSP बेसिकली क्या कहता है, मैं आपको एक सिंपल सा बता देता हूं. DPSPs, Directive Principles of States Policy. ठीक, वर्ड्स को सेग्रेगेट करो. पॉलिसी तो हमें पता है, स्टेट्स पॉलिसी. स्टेट इज द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन विच इज मैनेजिंग द अफेयर्स ऑफ द नेशन एंड द कंट्री, राइट? सिंपल. फिर क्या है, डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स. प्रिंसिपल्स तो हमें पता है क्या होते हैं, एक बेसिक थीम. एंड लुक एट द वर्ड डायरेक्टिव. दैट मीन्स द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज डायरेक्टिंग, गिविंग एन ऑर्डर और गिविंग अ डायरेक्शन टू द स्टेट दैट योर पॉलिसी शुड हैव फॉलोइंग प्रिंसिपल्स, है ना? सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, गरीबों का उद्धार करना है, राइट? दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स विल बी मेंशन्ड इन दी DPSP. या फिर फ्यूचर में जो चीजें होनी चाहिए, लाइक यूनिवर्सल सिविल कोड. दैट मीन्स द इश्यूज लाइक प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर, इशू लाइक मैरिजेस, इशू लाइक डिवोर्स, these issues should be common for all communities, right? So because that is a very controversial issue, because then religious minorities and even the majority religion can say that you are interfering, the state is interfering in my personal affairs. राइट. सो इस वजह से यूनिवर्सल सिविल कोड इट इज स्टिल पेंडिंग, राइट. तो बेसिकली कुछ ऐसे प्रिंसिपल्स विच शुड गाइड द पॉलिसी एंड द बिहेवियर ऑफ द स्टेट इन फ्यूचर, राइट. डीपीएसपी, राइट. तो ये फंडामेंटल राइट्स नहीं है, फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर ऑफ द पीपल. These are directions which are given by the constitution makers to the state that आगे जब भी आपको समय ठीक लगे, whenever you feel the time is right, right, then you should be working on these things. Directive principles of states policy, है ना. तो अगर हम शब्दों को तोड़ के पढ़ें तो इतना मुश्किल नहीं है, हमें कुछ लक्ष्मीकांत भी नहीं पढ़नी पड़ेगी. अगर हमें थोड़ी सी इंग्लिश से हम वर्ड बाय वर्ड ऐसा थोड़ा सा जूम इन करके देख लेते हैं, वर्ड मीनिंग उसी में छुपा हुआ है. This is how you can prevent rote learning by focusing on each word, है ना. डायरेक्टिव माने डायरेक्शंस, प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट्स पॉलिसी, राइट. तो जैसे आज के टाइम पे डीपीएसपीज हैं उसी प्रकार से वहां पे भी डीपीएसपीज दिए गए थे. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, 19 फंडामेंटल राइट्स. 19 फंडामेंटल राइट्स. I'm not going to dictate you 19 fundamental rights, but I'm going to tell you that these 19 fundamental rights, they related on which issues, right? So for example, if we are going to write down, okay, 19 fundamental rights with focus on rights of, 19 fundamental rights with focus on rights of liberty, education, liberty, education, workers, liberty, education, workers, women, workers, women, minorities and lower castes, minorities and lower castes. ठीक है ना. अब ये है जनरल प्रिंसिपल. अब आप स्पेक्ट्रम इसको भी कंफ्यूजिंग कर देगा. जैसे कंफ्यूजिंग कैसे, वो आपसे रोट लर्न करवाएगा. क्या मैं कहता हूं, फॉलो कॉमन सेंस, राइट. जैसे एक राइट है, राइट टू यूज पब्लिक वेल्स. बाय कॉमन सेंस इज देयर, अनटचेबिलिटी वाज देयर, एंड देयरफॉर पब्लिक वेल्स एंड पब्लिक रोड्स, फॉर एग्जांपल रोड्स व्हिच वर कनेक्टिंग द टेंपल्स, राइट. सो देयर लोअर कास्ट दे वर नॉट अलाउड बिकॉज अनटचेबिलिटी इट इज देयर, राइट. पब्लिक वेल्स वो पानी नहीं पीने देंगे. So therefore, since we are here writing 19 fundamental rights relating to rights of lower caste, so just in case अगर प्रीलिम्स में बोल भी दिया जाता है right to use public wells, तो आपको ये देखना है that is it a right which is concerning with the lower caste, basic human right. Answer is yes. There is no point remembering 19 fundamental rights, and आज तक as such UPSC ने कभी भी इनको पूछा भी नहीं है particular, right. So equality for women, rights of women है. राइट्स ऑफ माइनॉरिटीज टू प्रोटेक्ट देयर कल्चर, हो गई. राइट्स, राइट टू स्ट्राइक फॉर वर्कर्स, हो गई, है ना. तो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स विच आर देयर. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, कम्युनल एस्पेक्ट्स. अब आया इंपॉर्टेंट, कम्युनल एस्पेक्ट्स. कम्युनल एस्पेक्ट्स डैश फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. कम्युनल एस्पेक्ट्स डैश फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, राइट. तो नाउ कम्स द मेन इशू. ऊपर वाले तो ठीक है, ठीक है. नाउ इट इज द मेन इशू कि मुस्लिम लीग से रिलेटेड क्या हुआ, ठीक है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अभी देखिए क्या होगा. फर्स्ट पॉइंट राइट हो, क्या कहा इन्होंने, क्रिएशन ऑफ एनडब्ल्यूएफपी एंड बलूचिस्तान एज फुल प्रोविंसेस. क्रिएशन ऑफ एनडब्ल्यूएफपी एंड बलूचिस्तान एज फुल प्रोविंसेस. क्रिएशन ऑफ एनडब्ल्यूएफपी एंड बलूचिस्तान एज फुल प्रोविंसेस. Right, so Muslim League leaders, they'll be cheering, they'll be smiling like anything that our one demand it is met, right. Out of the 4 Delhi proposals, one of the demand was creation of 3, ठीक है. तो आगे भी NWFP भी आ गया, बलूचिस्तान भी आ गया, सिंध is pending, right. So next point right on, separation of Sindh from Bombay. खुशी की लहर दौड़ गई मुस्लिम लीग के कैंप में. Separation of Sindh from Bombay. Separation of Sindh from Bombay. Everyone is cheering. Then someone says, "Bhi ruja ruja." क्या? Separation of Sindh from Bombay only after separation of Sindh from Bombay only after dominion status. Only after dominion status. Only after dominion status, and only if financially viable, and only if financially viable, and only if financially viable. What do you mean by financially viable? Every state has its budget. Budget is a statement of income and expenditure. So every state should have decent amount of income. And when will that happen? When each state has decent amount of resources. What resources? Population, that is human resource. Quality of that population will also matter, that whether this population is educated population or all are unskilled. Plus minerals which are there in the land. How many hospitals are there in that state? How many universities and schools are in that state? How many factories are there in that state? That state has any railway line or not? That state has any rivers or not? Because these are all resources which will impact the economy of the state. So every state should have decent amount of income, right? Income will come from this economy. So therefore they are saying that we are ready to think about creation of sin, but there are some conditions. And second condition is only after the Britishers they gave us dominion status. As soon as the Britishers they gave dominion status, then only foreign policy and defense are going to be with the Britishers. Internal reorganization of the provinces, it is going to be with Indians, and Indians are Hindus in majority, and Muslim League will not trust the Hindus. They are like, after kya hota hai? Why after dominion status? Why not right now? Because they don't trust. They know that there are people like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So they don't trust. They are like, we want before the Britishers they leave India, before that we want this. After क्या होता है? After nothing. Right? ऐसा. तो ठीक ही सोचते थे वो. Next point. ठीक है, तो इनका मुंह बन गया sad. फिर then the thing is like, okay, what about this thing? Separate electorates etc. ठीक है, या फिर ठीक है, तो वो देखिए separate electorate. एक और second demand, no reservation for Muslims in MMPs. No reservation for Muslims in MMPs. No reservation for Muslims in MMPs. ठीक, सो देखिए फर्स्ट जो इनकी डिमांड थी क्रिएशन ऑफ 3 मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस, 2 तो एग्रीड बट थर्ड वाले में इफ एंड बट इज अप्लाइड. सेकेंड जो डिमांड थी रिजर्वेशन इवन इन दी मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस, दैट इज रिजेक्टेड. ठीक, थर्ड डिमांड लिखिए, 1/3 था ना रिजर्वेशन एट द सेंटर. थर्ड डिमांड राइट डाउन, रिजर्वेशन एट सेंटर, रिजर्वेशन एट सेंटर and in Muslim minority provinces, reservation at center and in Muslim minority provinces in proportion to percentage in population. In proportion to percentage in population. In brackets डाला के not 1/3. In brackets डाला के not 1/3. In proportion to percentage in population. तो यहां दिक्कत हो गई ना. तो आउट ऑफ दी 3 डिमांड्स ओनली 1 डिमांड इज मेट एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो पार्शियली. ठीक, अब व्हाट अबाउट जॉइंट इलेक्टोरेट, सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स? राइट डाउन, नो सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स. नो सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स. नो सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स. हाँ जी, all over India level पे if there is percentage of population of Muslims is 20%, that means 20% of the seats in the center. And whenever you look at any province, let's say 16% is Muslim population any province, then 16% seats will be reserved for Muslims. किसी दूसरे province में आप गए, there 25% population is there, so 25% seats in the PLA will be reserved. हाँ, ठीक, अलग सीट पे तो कोई भी लड़ सकता है. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. अब देखो जले पे नमक, रिजर्वेशन ओनली फॉर 10 years. रिजर्वेशन ओनली फॉर 10 years एंड टू बी रिव्यूड आफ्टर 10 years. ये तो हमारा संविधान भी कहता है. रिजर्वेशन ओनली फॉर 10 years एंड टू बी रिव्यूड आफ्टर 10 years. एंड टू बी रिव्यूड आफ्टर 10 years. नेक्स्ट, एक और जले पे नमक, reservation to non-Muslim minorities. Reservation to non-Muslim minorities in Sindh and NWFP. Reservation to non-Muslim minorities in Sindh and NWFP. Last point, no state religion. Reservation to non-Muslim minorities in Sindh and NWFP. Sindh and NWFP. Last point, no state religion. No state religion. But protection to culture of minorities. No state religion, but protection to culture of minorities. This is asking, sir, which उससे पहले तो फिर क्या हुआ? So it is a controversy what happened to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Multiple books are there, right? Multiple theories are there. Some say that he was in Russia, some say that he actually came back to India. Many of the parliamentarians, they also said गुमनामी बाबा वाला जैसे था, तो many of the parliamentarians, they declared, they did a press conference that very soon we are going to bring you Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in front of you. ऐसा ठीक है, तो ऐसा भी था. तो बहुत बड़ी कंट्रोवर्सी है कि कहाँ थे कहाँ नहीं थे, तो वो किसी को नहीं पता. Right, sir, which British post holders like Governor General, governors, etc. should we learn for major events? The point is, we learn the important ones. And who are the important ones? How do we get to know? When we look at the events. So therefore, those events or which are given more number of pages in your handwritten notes, that means that event is important. Example, permanent settlement 1793, we have discussed. Ryotwari settlement, we have discussed. So because permanent settlement is important, therefore Cornwallis is important. And he is a Governor General. And because Ryotwari is important, right, so that's why we talked about what you call as Thomas Munro. So essay, you don't have to remember everyone, right, but you have to remember those where important events are taking place. है ना, जैसे थर्ड एंग्लो मराठा वॉर, हेस्टिंग्स 1323, सेकेंड एंग्लो मराठा वॉर, वेलेस्ले 9805, राइट, एम्पायर बिल्डर्स. तो हमने हर कोई नहीं, बट विच आर एक्स्ट्रा इंपॉर्टेंट. जैसे बंगाल पार्टीशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट, तो कर्जन, लॉर्ड कर्जन. मॉर्ले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स, तो मिंटो. मोंटेगू चेम्सफोर्ड रिफॉर्म्स, तो चेम्सफोर्ड, राइट. सो ऐसा करके जहां पे इंपॉर्टेंट इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं हम रिवर्स चलेंगे. हम ऐसे कभी नहीं याद करेंगे कि विकिपीडिया पे गए एंड लाइन से सारे गवर्नर जनरल देख लिए, उससे कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला. यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू रिमेंबर दिस डिक्शनरी ऑफ नेम्स. फॉलो बैकवर्ड अप्रोच, रिवर्स अप्रोच, राइट. सो जस्ट ट्राई टू थिंक दैट विच आर द इंपॉर्टेंट इवेंट्स विच आर टेकिंग प्लेस, राइट. तो ऐसा ऐसा करके आप देखिए. और अगर आपको if you have to follow this Wikipedia approach also, just in case in self study like नहीं सर मुझे तो ऐसे ही देखना chronologically, तो फिर आप क्या करिए, whenever you encounter any governor general, look at the years and then try to think about your notes or open your notes and try to see that in these years which important events took place, right. So therefore ऐसे नाम लिखा and important ऐसे लिखा. When you do this, then suddenly this name will start having meaning to you. Otherwise तो it is a meaningless name, है ना. तो ऐसा करके कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन, इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट. एपीसी मेट इन कैलकाटा. नाउ एपीसी मेट इन कैलकाटा. नाउ एपीसी मेट इन कैलकाटा एंड हियर जिन्ना प्रपोज्ड 3 amendments. APC met in Calcutta and here Jinnah proposed 3 amendments. Jinnah proposed 3 amendments to Nehru report. 3 amendments to Nehru report in December 1928. 3 amendments to Nehru report in December 1928. In December 1928. First point, तो इनका तार वहीं अटका हुआ है. 1/3 रिजर्वेशन इन CLA. 1/3 रिजर्वेशन इन CLA. 1/3 reservation in CLA. Second amendment, reservation in MMPs, reservation in MMPs of Punjab and Bengal. Reservation in MMPs of Punjab and Bengal. In Punjab and Bengal, in proportion to population in proportion to population until UAF implemented. In proportion to population until UAF implemented. So why they are asking this? So I can write down. So if right to vote is linked with income criteria, then it is quite possible that a poor Muslim man, his name will not be there in the voter list. And therefore, in population, Muslims are in majority, but maybe that majority is not visible in the voter list. Right? So therefore, till the point of time you bring universal adult franchise, till that point of time you give us a reservation even in the Muslim majority provinces. Once you bring universal adult franchise, that means once right to vote is not linked with income criteria, then fine, then don't give reservation. Right? So in that sense they are trying to be reasonable. Because it is possible 54% Muslims are in population in Punjab, but when the voter list comes out, because right to vote is linked with income criteria, let's say only 48% Muslims or only 35% Muslims, they qualify the income criteria, and only 35% names are there in the voter list. So they are saying that give us a reservation in proportion to population, mane reserve 54% seats for us till the point of time you implement universal adult franchise. हाँ, एक बार everyone irrespective of income has right to vote, so 54% population में 54% naturally voter list में भी नाम होंगे, तब ठीक है, then fine, we don't demand reservation, right? So उस प्रकार से third amendment they suggest, तो थोड़ा सा ट्यूबलाइट टाइप चमके, right? And they are like, यार this thing we forgot. And what is the thing they forgot? Write down residual powers, residual, they are the same thing. Residual powers to provinces, and not to center. Residual powers to provinces and not to center. ऐसा क्यों होगा? वैसे क्यों चाहेंगे ऐसा हो? Center में they will never be prime minister. Muslim League cannot be prime minister at the center, right? Because they claim that they represent 20% of the population. So they will be having power where in Muslim majority provinces they will be chief ministers. That's why they will always want strong provinces. Minorities will always demand strong provinces. Why? Because they will feel that at center हम सरकार नहीं बना पाएंगे. Right? So आप, और ये natural भी है, मतलब यहाँ पे तो मुस्लिम लीग वाला इशू है, but otherwise if you look today also, for example, population, Northeast has only 4% population of India. So therefore, they know that they will not be able to form government at the center. Right? So what is their demand? 6th schedule. That is, give us more autonomy, make the provinces of Northeast more stronger. Right? So therefore, the Constitution of India provides for 6th schedule for the Northeast states. Similarly, tribals, they feel that they are not in majority and they will never be able to dominate the national politics. So therefore, the Constitution of India provides for 5th schedule. Right? And Panchayat extension to Scheduled Areas Act, PISA, right? Forest Rights Act 2006. इस प्रकार से ये सब चीजें, right? So this kind of scenario it is there, right? So demand for more powers to provinces. Any minority will ideally demand more powers to the provinces because they can hope to be chief minister in some province, but they cannot hope, or chances are less that they will become, right, this kind of scenario, right? So Manmohan Singh, for example, has been, but one Sikh has been the उस प्रकार से the prime minister, right? तो usually वो सब रहता ही है, right? Because it is population का scenario है, voter list का scenario है, right? So ये है. Next point, all three were rejected. All three were rejected. right? Next, write down next event, INC Calcutta session. INC Calcutta session, December 1928. INC Calcutta session, December 1928. First point, approved Nehru report. Approved Nehru report. बट इस आदमी को कैसे मनाओगे? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, एससी बोसेस रेजोल्यूशन, सुभाष चंद्र बोस, एससी बोसेस रेजोल्यूशन, एससी बोसेस रेजोल्यूशन फॉर गोल ऑफ पूर्ण स्वराज, एससी बोसेस रेजोल्यूशन फॉर गोल ऑफ पूर्ण स्वराज फेल्ड. तो नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस थोड़े बागी टाइप के आदमी थे. ही वॉज अ रिबेल. सो द सीनियर लीडर्स दे आर लाइक वी शुड आस्क समथिंग विच वी कैन होप टू गेट. सो लेट अस गो फॉर डोमिनियन स्टेटस, राइट? बट नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस, जवाहरलाल नेहरू, द यंग लीडर्स, they were wanting that goal of the Nehru report, or at least if not of the Nehru report then of the INC, should be full independence, right? Mahatma Gandhi middle path type follow kar rahe the, so therefore he decided to be on the side of the senior leaders. Jawaharlal Nehru ji ka aisa tha, oppose, but at the last moment shift to Gandhi ji, right? Aisa Jawaharlal Nehru himself writes that I failed Subhash Chandra Bose on multiple occasions because ultimately I believed in Mahatma Gandhi. ऐसा तो ऐसा मतलब, पर नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस तो मानेंगे नहीं. So he knew that ऐसा है, but he still brings a resolution that I want voting. How many INC members they demand Purna Swaraj? But since more number of people they were with seniors and Gandhis, so therefore failed. But he is bringing. But he is way ahead of time. INC will adopt Purna Swaraj in 1929. He is suggesting in 1928. In 1939, he suggested that we should make use of the World War II and start the civil disobedience movement. Ultimately, in 1942, what did Mahatma Gandhi say? Quit India. है ना? तो मतलब ऐसा अगर आप देखो तो हमेशा वो he is ahead of his time. UPSC ऑल इंडिया रैंक 4 छोटी बात नहीं होती. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, if dominion status, तो गांधी जी ने मिडिल पाथ ये निकाला. इफ डोमिनियन स्टेटस इज नॉट गिवन इन 1 year, इफ डोमिनियन स्टेटस इज नॉट गिवन इन 1 year, महात्मा गांधी को 1 साल से बड़ा प्यार था. इफ स्वराज इज नॉट गिवन इन 1 year, देन वी आर गोइंग टू डॉन सिविल डिसोबीडियंस, है ना? ऐसे ही इफ डोमिनियन स्टेटस इज नॉट गिवन इन 1 year, देन गोल ऑफ आईएनसी टू बी पूर्ण स्वराज. इफ डोमिनियन स्टेटस नॉट गिवन इन 1 year, देन गोल ऑफ आईएनसी टू बी पूर्ण स्वराज, and INC to launch a CDM for it. Then goal of INC to be Purna Swaraj and INC to launch a CDM for it. Right? ऐसा. अच्छा. Someone has asked that what was Muslim League doing after the Khilafat movement? So remember Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, right? So Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party entered into a coalition with the Muslim League and they fought elections of 1923, right? So they collaborated with each other. However, जब 1924 में ज़्यादा riots हुए, right? तो उस time पे फिर उनका, so Muslim League entered the councils. After Khilafat movement, Muslim League entered the councils. मतलब before the Khilafat movement only, in 1923 itself, they entered the councils, and then they are getting active here again, है ना? ऐसा. Next point. Constructive work CW resolution passed. CW resolution passed. As MG wanted to prepare masses. CW resolution passed as MG wanted to prepare masses for non-violent CDM. आप लोगों ने इतनी टेंशन दे दी चोरी चोरा करके. कितना कंस्ट्रक्टिव वर्क करे जा रहे देखो. 1922 से 1927 कंस्ट्रक्टिव वर्क. अभी दोबारा कंस्ट्रक्टिव वर्क है. तुम लोगों को सुधारने के लिए दैट यू बी नॉन वायलेंट. तो मानोगे थोड़ी. लिखो CW रेजोल्यूशन CW resolution passed by ANC because Mahatma Gandhi wanted to ensure that whenever the CDM takes place, it remains non-violent, right? So therefore, let us go to the ground and do some more aggressive constructive work. क्या करेंगे इस constructive work में? So sentence हुआ, लिखवा रहा हूँ. CW resolution passed as MG wanted to prepare masses for non-violent CDM. Non-violent CDM, because you look at that after 1 year we may launch CDM. So for 1 year, let us do constructive work where we will train people for non-violent satyagrah. Dash first sub point. क्या क्या करेंगे इसमें? Dash first sub point. ठीक. Focus on boycott. Focus on boycott of foreign cloth. Focus on boycott of foreign cloth. Comma promotion of khadi. Comma promotion of khadi. Comma anti-liquor campaign. Comma anti-liquor campaign. Comma anti-untouchability. Anti-untouchability. Comma awareness on women empowerment. Awareness on women empowerment. Comma self-reliance. Comma self-reliance. Comma non-violence. Non-violent satyagrah. Comma non-violent satyagrah. And organizational work. And organizational work. In brackets डाला आगे लिखिए. Turn pages and compare. Turn pages and compare. CW resolution. Turn pages and compare. Turn pages and compare your this thing. CW resolution in special Calcutta session. In special Calcutta session 1920. In special Calcutta session 1920. And notice HM unity absent here. HM unity absent here. And new edition of women empowerment. And a new edition of women empowerment. Brackets closed. And new edition of women empowerment, brackets closed. Why? Because INC and Muslim League, they are at collision right now. And if during the constructive work, INC party cadre, they will go to Muslim neighborhoods, that is Muslim colonies or Muslim slums, then chances are that the Muslim population, which is supportive of Muslim League, at least that segment of Muslim population, may not want to listen to what INC is saying and may not allow them, may lead to friction, may lead to some violence also. Right. So see at this here you notice that focus on this HM unity kind of thing, वो मतलब उन्होंने clearly नहीं लिखा है, but एक new edition है women empowerment का, and that is why in civil disobedience movement women participate a lot, right? वो भी एक चीज़ है, ठीक है? तो ये है. Next heading write down. हाँ क्या हुआ? कैलकाटा अमेंडमेंट्स थे, हाँ जी. उस समय के टाइम के हिसाब से लेजिटिमेट कैसे थे? इफ योर पॉपुलेशन इज 20% एंड यू आर डिमांडिंग 33% रिजर्वेशन, सो दिस इज लाइक समथिंग एक्स्ट्रा स्पेशल प्रिविलेज. सेकेंड वाला था, वो था क्या? रिजर्वेशन इवन इन मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस. सो आर यू प्रोवाइडिंग अब राइट टू वोट इज लिंक्ड टू इनकम क्राइटेरिया इवन फॉर हिंदूज ऑल्सो. नॉट ऑल हिंदूज आर रिच, नॉट ऑल हिंदूज दे क्वालिफाई फॉर राइट टू वोट. सो आर यू ऑल्सो विलिंग टू गिव रिजर्वेशन टू हिंदूज इन हिंदू मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस? इट इज अ प्रिंसिपल दैट मेजॉरिटी को रिजर्वेशन नहीं मिलता है ना. यस, दे आर ट्राइंग टू बी समवॉट मोर रीजनेबल, राइट, बाय सेइंग दैट, बट स्टिल रिजर्वेशन टू मेजॉरिटी इट इज not right. For example, in the case of Sri Lankan problem of Tamils, right, they brought reservation for Sinhala majority also, जो कि ठीक नहीं है. मेजॉरिटी के लिए रिजर्वेशन ठीक नहीं है ना, ऐसा. Next heading, write down Jinnah's 14-point demands. Jinnah's 14-point demands. Jinnah's 14-point demands, March 1929. Jinnah's 14-point demands, March 1929. March 1929. Dash, March 1929. So 3 Calcutta amendments rejected. After that he gave 14-point demands, and this is going to be his party's agenda for rest of 1947 tak, right? So it was a summary of all communal demands ever made by any Muslim organization or any Muslim leader, right? So write down dash, a summary of all communal demands, dash, a summary of all communal demands ever made, a summary of all communal demands ever made, plus became blueprint, plus became blueprint for all future ML politics, became blueprint for all future ML politics, for all future ML politics. फर्स्ट पॉइंट लिखिए. अच्छा, इसमें एक आपको छोटा सा एक चीज देता हूं. वेन एवर यू आर राइटिंग दीज थिंग्स, वी आर गोइंग टू मूव फ्रॉम लेस टू मोर, माने कि लेस एग्रेसिव डिमांड टू मोर एग्रेसिव डिमांड काइंड ऑफ. ठीक है. जस्ट ट्राई टू इमेजिन, ड्यूरिंग रिविजन और वाइल राइटिंग that you are a Muslim League politician, right? And you are wanting more and more power. Okay? So each of these provisions are going to give more and more power. So imagine that a party is going on, right? Let's say a party it is going on, right? Where we are all members of Muslim League, right? Let's be devil's advocate for some time, right? Right? And therefore we are going to draft some demands. Okay? So therefore what is the first demand? वो तो हर कोई बताया था का, that is separate electorates. What is the positives of separate electorate? That we will have more chances to win elections in those constituencies which are reserved for Muslims, right? So write down the first point. Continuation of separate electorates. Continuation of separate electorates. ठीक, ऐसा. अब second thing what do you want? Second thing you would want is that you are a minority, but you want more and more power, right? So therefore you demand what? 1/3 reservation at the center. 1/3 reservation at the center. So second point, write down 1/3 Muslims in central legislature. 1/3 Muslims in central legislature. 1/3 Muslims in central legislature. ठीक, 1/3 Muslims. So then party start हो गई भाई. Everyone is happy. जाम छलक रहे. ठीक. Then suddenly he came to me. I am Mohammad Ali Jinnah. He came to me. He said कि sir this is all flimsy. मैंने कहा भाई wait क्या हो गया? ये क्या, पहले तो flimsy का मीनिंग बताओ. इसे मतलब सर ये ढकोसला है, मतलब इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. मैं क्यों? क्या सर 1/3 reservation, 33% for passing of any bill, just 50% votes are required. So therefore you will not have that kind of say at the center. And even in those provinces where you are a minority, you will not be able to have any say. So sir, ask for something more. मैंने कहा यार तुम सजेस्ट करो, बात तो ठीक कह रहे हो. So he says कि सर ask for veto power. Veto power माने अरे सर INC से सीखो, learn from INC. मैंने क्या कह रहा था दोबारा? क्या सर when I studied in Vision IAS, मैंने कहा ये क्या है? क्या सर फ्यूचर में था, मैं अभी वापस आया हूँ. Sir, when I studied for Vision IAS, with Vision IAS, there I noticed that the moderates, they decided, they were secular, and therefore they decided that if majority of either Hindu or Muslim members, they are against a resolution, then INC will not adopt that resolution. माने कि even if Muslim members are less in number, if a significant majority of the Muslim members, they say no to something, it means no. माने कि INC had accepted the idea of veto. INC had accepted the idea of veto within INC to the Muslim members. 10 of you are Muslim members of INC, and rest of you are, let's say, Hindu members of INC. He brings a resolution that in future this should be the size of Imperial Legislative Council. You all say yes, but somehow for whatever reason, the 10 Muslim members, out of them 7 or 6 they say we don't agree. Then this decision will fail. It will not be passed. That means you have given veto power to the Muslim members of the INC. So like it's learn from there. Get veto power. ना तभी तो आपके पास कुछ पावर होगी at center also, है ना? तो write down. Veto power on bills. Veto power on bills. Veto power on bills. एक ब्लैक कॉफी मंगवा दोगे प्लीज. Veto power on bills. If ये मैं जानबूझ के मंगा रहा हूं कॉफी बिकॉज मुझे किसी को चिढ़ाना है. सुन सुन नहीं, वो देखो क्या टी शर्ट पहन के आ रखी है. फर्स्ट आई नीड कॉफी. पहनी हुई टी शर्ट. एनीवेज, सो राइट डाउन वीटो पावर ऑन बिल्स. If 3/4 of minority members, if 3/4 of minority members are against it. 3/4 minority members are against it. 3/4 minority members are against it. अब देखो how to be a diplomat. Charan has asked an interesting question, है ना? And that's how to be a bureaucrat also. मतलब that would be my answer. Sir, in the interview board, if someone asks, some member asks, who do you admire more in freedom struggle? Mahatma Gandhi or Netaji Bose? Right? Should we say obviously Mahatma Gandhi, or what should be our answer? Right? So how to be a bureaucrat and how to be intelligent person also. How to be intelligent person also. Yeah, so you will be intelligent person when you say, see, you are not stupid person. जो मतलब randomly हर चीज थोड़ी ठीक होती है. अगर if you want to kill someone, then you use sword. But if you want to do सुई धागा, तब थोड़ी you will use sword. So you are intelligent enough to know that your Indian national movement went through multiple phases, right? And there was a time when Mahatma Gandhi was of utmost importance, and the role played by Mahatma Gandhi was invaluable. But there was also a time when the movement was right for a person like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, right? So therefore your answer would be that, sir, my heart is divided between both, right? You say, sir, my mind is divided between both, and but इसी पे नहीं रुकना, ठीक है? ये तो ऐसे नहीं, तो but you have to give clarification also. You will get 5 seconds. My heart or my mind is divided between both. In 1920s, I admire, in 1920s and 30s, I really admire Mahatma Gandhi, while in 1940s, I really admire Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Full stop. So therefore, you see, you have not hurt anyone's things, and your answer is legitimate also. He will ask, why? Why do you say so? Or he may say, no, I want you to choose one. See? If he says, why do you say so? Then you have your answer. That's in 1920s and 30s. The primary challenge was how to bring different sections of the society into mass politics. And that challenge, because of charisma of Mahatma Gandhi, that challenge was really met in a very great manner through non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement by Mahatma Gandhi. While once that was done, the Britishers, they were still in no mood to give us freedom. And therefore, at that particular point of time, the idea of Azad Hind Fauj of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had very important role to play in Britishers leaving India. That's why in 1940s I admire Netaji. Right? As simple as that. You don't have to आपको किसी give credit to everyone. Right? Give credit to everyone. And intelligent credit giving is there. You are not andhbhakt of either Mahatma Gandhi or of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. As simple as that. है ना? तो ये आपका आंसर हुआ. अब वो कह ही रहे हैं, no, I want you to choose one. Then first you should appear very confused, as if such a question has been asked, जिसने आपके दिल को तोड़ दिया है. Why? Because आप ये ने कहा था ना, my heart is divided, है? And अब वो कह रहे हैं, no, I want you to choose one, and you immediately answer, Sir, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, और यू इमीडिएटली आंसर महात्मा गांधी। इसका पहले तो झूठ बोल रहा था, तेरा दिल इतना तो डिवाइडेड नहीं था। इंटीग्रिटी शुड बी देयर, इंटीग्रिटी शुड बी देयर, कंसिस्टेंसी शुड बी देयर। सो थोड़ा सा ऐसे नीचे देख के ऐसा, देन जो भी आपका आंसर है, जो भी आपने ज्यादा प्रिपेयर कर रखा है, आप उस पर चले जाए। ठीक है, ऐसा ठीक है, वो आपकी मर्जी है, ठीक है ना। कोई भी आंसर कंट्रोवर्शियल नहीं है, ठीक है। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस एंड महात्मा गांधी बोथ आर वेरी वेरी फेमस, तो मतलब पॉजिटिव आर्गुमेंट्स दोनों के बहुत सारे आपको मिल जाएंगे उस प्रकार से, ठीक है। तो राइट ऑन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट। अब फिर पार्टी दोबारा चालू हो गई, राइट, एंड देन वी आर एंजॉइंग, ठीक है। मैंने तो पैग भी खोल लिया, आई एम मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना, ही यूज्ड टू ड्रिंक, ठीक, राइट। आफ्टर दैट ही केम टू मी एंड ही सेड समथिंग इन माय ईयर्स, जिसने मेरा सारा नशा उतार दिया, राइट। आई सडनली टोटली लाइक अवेक, राइट। ये लाइक कि सर छोटी सोच है आपकी, यू डोंट थिंक बिग, ठीक है। आई एम जिन्ना, यू आर टॉकिंग टू मी लाइक दिस, कल के लौंडे, युवा नेता, राइट। बट देन आस्क व्हाट डू यू मीन, सो से कि सर you will keep on making bills. When will you enjoy control over bureaucracy? When will you enjoy being minister? कि सर पॉइंट ऐड करो, 1/3 रिजर्वेशन इन कैबिनेट ऑल्सो सर। सर क्या मतलब बस लॉ मेकर बनना आपको, मंत्री कौन बनेगा सर, एमएलए को कौन पूछ रहा है, एमपी को कौन पूछ रहा है। मैं हाउ डू यू नो, सर मैं फ्यूचर से आया हूँ, ठीक है। एमएलए और एमपी उतनी औकात नहीं है सर जितना मंत्री पद सर, मंत्री, एंड वो भी सर कैबिनेट मंत्री। तो 1/3 रिजर्वेशन करो, देखो 1/3 मिनिमम, 1/3 रिजर्वेशन, मिनिमम 1/3 रिजर्वेशन इन कैबिनेट, minimum 1/3 reservation in cabinet at center and provinces, minimum 1/3 reservation in cabinet at center and provinces, right. Next, reservation even in MMPs, reservation even in MMPs, reservation even in MMPs. Next, new MMPs of Sindh and WFP Baluchistan, new MMPs of Sindh and WFP Baluchistan, Sindh and WFP Baluchistan. Next, residual powers to provinces, residual powers to provinces, residual powers to provinces. Next, protection to culture of Muslims, protection to culture of Muslims. अब पार्टी फुल ऑन है, अब हनी सिंह के गाने चल रहे हैं, ठीक, पार्टी इज फुल ऑन, राइट. बट देन मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना notices that some of the people at the back, they are unhappy. Some of the people at the back, they are unhappy. यार right, why are you sad? Like, first, who are you? Yes, sir, I am Yuva Neta, or I am a Neta who works at the local body level, sir. मैं why are you sad? Yes, sir, अब छोड़ो सर, क्या बड़ा छोटा मुंह बड़ी बात, क्या बड़े आदमी के सामने, बिग पर्सन, आई एम स्मॉल पर्सन, क्या नहीं बोल बोल पैक बना इसको बोल. So sir, say sir, reservation at center and reservation at provinces. Sir, what about like local bodies? मतलब ऐसा, मतलब वहां पे भी रिजर्वेशन होगा. चलो सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स आपने कहा है, कॉन्टिन्यूशन सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट, तो रिजर्वेशन हर जगह, बट एक मतलब स्पेशल समथिंग की, मतलब एट द एग्जीक्यूटिव लेवल, फॉर एग्जांपल पंचायत इज देयर, तो ग्राम सभा इज, मतलब ऐसा, मतलब एक हमारे लिए भी पॉइंट होना चाहिए. तो जिन्ना इज लाइक आज सब बाजी करेंगे, एंड देयरफॉर राइट ऑन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, राइट ऑन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, reservation in all elected bodies, reservation in all elected bodies, even if Muslims in majority, reservation in all elected bodies, even even if Muslims in majority. There can be different kinds of elected bodies, है ना, sports की bodies हो सकती हैं, किसी भी प्रकार की bodies हो सकती हैं, even if Muslims in majority, right? So therefore this kind of thing was there. Then this young lad was there in the party, right? So therefore I inquired, young man, what are you doing? Right? So he's like, I'm preparing for UPSC, right? I'm preparing for civil services, right? And then suddenly, there's like, yeah, we are also selfish. You are thinking about us only. Who will think about our children? तो एक पॉइंट लिखो, रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, नहीं रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, बस इतना एक पॉइंट है, वो कितने की बात नहीं हुई, बट रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, राइट. नेक्स्ट, अब पार्टी चल रही खूब जोरों से, ठीक है, तो बट एक पॉइंट तो ऐसे लिख लो, चलो, फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ यूनिटरी, फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ यूनिटरी, फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ यूनिटरी. फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ यूनिटरी. अब इसका एक मेन फीचर होता है, उसको हम ब्रैकेट्स पे लिख लेते हैं, फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सब्जेक्ट्स. फेडरल लिखो ब्रैकेट्स में, फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सब्जेक्ट्स, फेडरल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सब्जेक्ट्स, माने कि ओरिजिनल ओनरशिप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज डायरेक्टली गिविंग सर्टेन सब्जेक्ट्स टू द प्रोविंसेस. That is called federal distribution of subjects. This point we discussed when we discussed the Government of India Act 1919, that subjects were divided between the center and the states, but it was not federal distribution of subjects. And there we tried to explain with an example that you may remember, that whether the scooty or the car, it is of father and given to you for temporary use, or it is originally yours. So federal distribution of subjects means the constitution itself has given certain subjects to the provinces, right? Next point, रेजिडुअल पावर्स टू प्रोविंसेस, रेजिडुअल पावर्स टू प्रोविंसेस हो गया. अच्छा, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी, प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी, प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी. व्हाट डू मीन बाय प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी? माने कि द स्टेट विल नॉट, इन जनरल इट विल नॉट इंटरफेयर इन द सेंटर. द गवर्नर शुड नॉट एक्ट एज कॉन्स्टेंटली इंटरफेयरिंग काइंड ऑफ पर्सन. प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी माने कि खुद का बजट होना चाहिए प्रोविंस का, मतलब प्रोविंस को कोई ज्यादा डिस्टर्ब नहीं करेगा, ठीक है, दैट काइंड ऑफ नॉन इंटरफेरेंस है इन जनरल. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, अब देखो, अब सारी पार्टी बहुत बढ़िया तरीके से चल रही थी, ठीक, बिल्कुल, अब जिन्ना बिल्कुल सेट हो गया, ठीक है, बट फिर दोबारा नशा उतर गया. अगेन दी वॉट एवर वॉज, ठीक है, गॉन, फ्लश्ड आउट. वाई? बिकॉज ही केम such a serious person, he does not love. ये हंसता ही नहीं है ना, अब हंसाए देखो मुश्किल से, ठीक है. सो ही केम, वो ऐसा ही सीरियस था पार्टी में. मैंने कहा इस आदमी को क्या, मैंने कहा हैव यू, मैं पी नहीं पी, इसने कैसा पी, मैं तब भी इतना सेट, ठीक है. तो मैंने कहा अच्छा, व्हाट इज योर सजेशन, राइट. सो इज बेसिकली सेइंग सर, क्या सर, हिंदूज आर इन मेजोरिटी इन द कंट्री. टुडे यू गेट सच अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन XYZ, टुडे यू आर पार्टिंग. Sir, but what if tomorrow, because Hindus are in majority, they basically amend the constitution? Then what? है? और सर आप इतना हैप्पी हो रखे हो, है? Sir, in future, when I study polity, sir, I came to know कि not even a proper constitutional amendment is required for territorial reorganization. सर ये तो झारखंड छत्तीसगढ़ ऐसे बना देते हैं, झारखंड छत्तीसगढ़ उत्तराखंड तेलंगाना, कैसे तो हर 5-10 साल में एक नया स्टेट बना देते हैं, टेरिटोरियल रिओर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट्स. सो दे सर, व्हाट इफ टुडे यू क्रिएट मोर मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी प्रोविंसेस, बट टुमारो द गवर्नमेंट इन द सेंटर डज टेरिटोरियल रिओर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ द प्रोविंसेस एंड देयरफॉर एंड्स योर मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी स्टेटस इन अ प्रोविंस. व्हाट इफ दे मर्ज बैक सिंध एंड बॉम्बे, तब क्या करोगे? व्हाट इफ दे अगेन चेंज बलूचिस्तान इनटू अ यूटी, तब क्या करोगे, राइट. तो ऐसा तो लोग भी बात बिल्कुल ठीक, आदमी सीरियस थे, तो बात ठीक करी इसने. तो दो पॉइंट हम उसमें लिख लेंगे कि भी नो अमेंडमेंट्स टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन विदाउट कंकरेंस ऑफ द स्टेट्स, ठीक. एंड सेकंड, नो सच टेरिटोरियल रिओर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच हर्ट्स और नेगेटिवली अफेक्ट्स द मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी स्टेटस इन अ प्रोविंस. किसी भी प्रकार से ऐसे बाउंड्री चेंज नहीं करी जाएगी कि मुस्लिम्स पहले मेजॉरिटी में थे, माइनॉरिटी में हो गए, है ना. दिस इज हाउ they will guarantee or try to guarantee, right. So write down last 2 points. हाँ, वो वीटो पावर तो सेंटर, वो हो गया है वीटो पावर, दैट इज वन एस्पेक्ट, बट ये वाला भी एक पॉइंट उन्होंने डबल एश्योरेंस आप कह लीजिए कैसे भी. नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट, नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट विदाउट कंकरेंस ऑफ स्टेट्स. अभी ये वाला लिखो, नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट विदाउट कंकरेंस ऑफ स्टेट्स, विदाउट कंकरेंस ऑफ स्टेट्स, without concurrence of states. And last point, no such territorial reorganization, no territorial reorganization, no territorial reorganization to negatively affect, no territorial reorganization to negatively affect Muslim majority status, to negatively affect Muslim majority status in any province, Muslim majority status in any province. Student is asking, what do you mean by provincial autonomy, right? So your polity teacher will tell you better, but provincial autonomy means that provinces are autonomous from the interference of the state. So provincial autonomy can include some of these points also. For example, if there is federal distribution of subjects, that means provinces, they have not got the subjects on loan from the center, they are originally theirs. So this is like provincial autonomy. Provinces having their own sources of income, that is certain taxes, they belong to the states only. So this is provincial autonomy, right? Similarly, for example, no amendment to the constitution without concurrence of the state. This is also respecting the autonomy. Not changing the borders of the states, that is also like provincial autonomy, right? So this kind of governor not interfering with the work of the chief minister, that is also provincial autonomy. So provincial autonomy, it is kind of like a general thing whereby the provinces, they are not trampled upon or they are not suppressed, they are not repressed by the central government, right? So this is like overall idea of provincial autonomy, right? This kind of scenario it is there, right? तो ऐसा है. अब आप लिखिए, अभी हो गया ठीक. अब एक हेडिंग लिखिए, दिवाली डिक्लेरेशन. दिवाली डिक्लेरेशन, Diwali declaration. Slash Irwin 2631 slash Irwin 2631 statement. Irwin 2631 statement. 1926 to 1931 था ये. 31st October 1929. Irwin 2631 statement. 31st October 1929. 31st October 1929. Right? So basically this is like a bumper bonanza. Why? You see, October has come, nearly ended, right? So Diwali उस time 31st October को थी. So that's why Diwali declaration. In Diwali declaration, it is like you are gifting something to India. है ना, ऐसा bumper bonanza, Diwali declaration, है ना ऐसा. So you know that Viceroy has given such a statement which is like a gift to Indians. So that is the thing, right? Second component is, what is the reality? Reality is that the Viceroy is in huge tension because 1 year is about to get over, and INC had said in December 1928 that if by December 1929 you do not give us, if by December 1929 you do not give us Dominion status, then we are going to launch a CDM and our goal is going to be Purna Swaraj. So that is the tension. So he wants to avoid a CDM, right? So that's why what does he declare? He says ki arey, you want Dominion status? You know, when Montagu said gradual Swaraj, that Swaraj meant maximum Swaraj without leaving British Empire. फालतू में you are getting angry. In 1917 itself, हमने कह दिया तुमको that we'll give you Dominion status gradually. वो जो gradual Swaraj था ना, वो gradual Dominion status था यार. कोई टेंशन ही नहीं है ना. तो ही ऑफिशियली ही सेज, अरे भाई डोमिनियन स्टेटस इट इज इम्प्लिसिट. इम्प्लिसिट माने वो हमने लिखा नहीं, पर वही तो हम कह रहे थे. इम्प्लिसिट, इट इज इम्प्लिसिट इन द मोंटेग्यू स्टेटमेंट and it is British policy to give you dominion status. ठीक है ऐसा. अब इंडियन से पूछो भाई एग्जैक्टली कब, कह रहे इन फ्यूचर, इन फ्यूचर, राइट. सो ऐसा ऐसा, ठीक है. तो वो प्रॉब्लम है दैट दे आर नॉट कमिटिंग एग्जैक्ट डेट फॉर डोमिनियन स्टेटस. इन फ्यूचर कर रहे हैं, बट दे नाउ एग्री दैट दिस थिंग इट इज देयर, राइट. तो ऐसा. सो लिखिए क्या स्टेटमेंट थी, इन कोट्स लिखिए. सो इरविन स्टेटमेंट इज डोमिनियन स्टेटस इज इम्प्लिसिट. Dominion status is implicit in Montagu Statement 1917. In Montagu Statement 1917, and it is intent of British. Dominion status is implicit. IMPLICIT, implicit, छुपा हुआ. मतलब शब्दों में नहीं कहा, बट ठीक है नजरों से हाँ कह दी थी. डोमिनियन स्टेटस इज इम्प्लिसिट इन मोंटैग्यू स्टेटमेंट 1917. इन मोंटैग्यू स्टेटमेंट 1917, एंड इट इज इंटेंट ऑफ ब्रिटिश, एंड इट इज इंटेंट ऑफ ब्रिटिश टू गिव डोमिनियन स्टेटस, एंड इट इज इंटेंट ऑफ ब्रिटिश टू गिव डोमिनियन स्टेटस at future date, dominion status at future date. And for this purpose, Britain will hold, and for this purpose Britain will hold round table conference in London. And for this purpose Britain will hold round table conference in London. Round table conference in London. Unquote. Quotes बंद कर दीजिए. Underline the word intent. Also underline future date. Intent, future date. ठीक. Next point. Therefore, there was no decision. Therefore, there was no decision. Only intent. Therefore, there was no decision, only intent. Plus no timeline. Plus no timeline. And only in future. No timeline and only in future. That is the problem, right? So you are saying, I intend to give UPSC. 1 साल हो गया, 2 साल हो गया, 3 साल हो गया. पेरेंट्स आर आस्किंग भाई व्हेन इज द डिसीजन टू गिव यूपीएससी, वेयर इज द टाइमलाइन. ठीक है ऐसा. तो इन फ्यूचर क्या मतलब होता है, कब तक युवा नेता बने रहोगे. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. देयरफॉर आईएनसी रिस्पोंडेड. देयरफॉर आईएनसी रिस्पोंडेड. देयरफॉर आईएनसी रिस्पोंडेड. Therefore, INC responded with Delhi Manifesto. Therefore, INC responded with Delhi Manifesto. Delhi Manifesto, MANIFESTO, Delhi Manifesto in November 1929. Delhi Manifesto in November 1929. Delhi Manifesto in November 1929, which was passed by a meeting of top INC leaders, which was passed by a meeting of top INC leaders. Dash first subpoint. Dash first subpoint. RTC should act as. RTC should act as. RTC माने round table conference. RTC should act as Constituent Assembly. RTC should act as Constituent Assembly. इन ब्रैकेट्स डाला लगा के CA लिख लो, इसको बहुत आने वाला है ये शब्द. RTC should act as Constituent Assembly, in brackets डाला लगा के CA, implementing dominion status. Implementing dominion status. That is drafting constitution. That is drafting constitution with dominion status. That is drafting constitution with dominion status. drafting constitution with dominion status. So INC is simply saying people from India, leaders from India, they are going to go to London. You guys are also there already, right? We all are going to be in a meeting. Let us declare that this is a meeting of Constituent Assembly, and from day one, let us start discussing the features of the future Constitution of India with dominion status. Right? हमें in future नहीं समझ में आता है. Let us right away treat the RTC as a Constituent Assembly, where Britishers will also be there and we will also be there. Right? Next point. Second sub point of Delhi Manifesto. Majority of Indians in RTC. Majority of Indians in RTC should be from INC. Majority of Indians in RTC should be from INC. Third sub point. Give amnesty. Give amnesty in case of bomb in CLA. Give amnesty in case of bomb in CLA. 1929. Bomb in CLA 1929 and Meerut conspiracy case. And Meerut conspiracy case 1929, where many communists were arrested. Where many communists were arrested. Communists were arrested. Where many communists were arrested. तो देखिए लाहौर कॉन्स्पिरेसी केस में दे आर नॉट रिक्वेस्टिंग एमनेस्टी, दे आर रिक्वेस्टिंग एमनेस्टी ओनली इन बॉम्ब इन CLA. डेथ सेंटेंस टू भगत सिंह वाज इन लाहौर कॉन्स्पिरेसी, राइट. तो कॉम्यूटेशन ऑफ डेथ सेंटेंस की डिमांड नहीं की है, ठीक है. तो एक तरीके से सिर्फ बी के तत्व को बचाने की कोशिश की है, ठीक. नेक्स्ट इंडिपेंडेंट पैराग्राफ पॉइंट. इरविन 2631 रिजेक्टेड. Irwin 2631 rejected. Therefore, Irwin 2631 rejected. Therefore, in Lahore session, therefore in Lahore session 1929, in Lahore session 1929, with Nehru as president, with Nehru as president, with Nehru as president, Nehru माने जवाहरलाल नेहरू, with Nehru as president, dash first sub point, with Nehru as president, dash first sub point. INC goal is equal to Purna Swaraj. INC goal is equal to Purna Swaraj. INC goal is equal to Purna Swaraj. Second sub point. INC rejected RTC. INC rejected RTC. Third sub point. 26 जनवरी 1930. मैंने ढूंढा क्यों 26 जनवरी नहीं मिला, बट हाँ इतना ही है, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर लाइन our Republic Day is celebrated on 26 January. But why here they are choosing 26 January? I tried to search but मिला नहीं कि अभी क्यों 26 जनवरी चूज किया था. तो अगर आपको पता चले तो मुझे बताना. Anyways, 26 January 1930 celebrated as, to be celebrated as 26 January 1930 to be celebrated as Independence Day. To be celebrated as Independence Day. By Indians taking Independence Pledge. By Indians taking Independence Pledge. By Indians taking Independence Pledge. Indians taking Independence Pledge. Next, decision to withdraw from legislatures. Decision to withdraw from legislatures immediately. Decision to withdraw from legislatures immediately. Decision to withdraw from legislatures immediately. Next, AICC, All India Congress Committee, AICC, to launch CDM, AICC to launch CDM at appropriate time, at appropriate time, at appropriate time, full stop, appropriate time, full stop. Next point, on one hand, high pressure on mg, on one hand, high pressure on mg to launch CDM, on one hand, high pressure on mg to launch CDM, and on other hand, some sections, and on other hand, some sections opposed CDM, and on other hand, some sections opposed CDM. Example, Muslims of INC, example, Muslims of INC wanted INC-ML unity, wanted INC-ML unity before a CDM, wanted INC-ML unity before a CDM, plus middle classes, that is capitalists, middle classes, that is capitalists, unsure, middle classes, that is capitalists, unsure about economic impact of CDM, unsure about economic impact of CDM, as Great Depression 1929, as Great Depression 1929 began in October 1929, as Great Depression 1929 began in October 1929, plus ML called CDM, plus ML called CDM, a trick of INC, ML called CDM, a trick of INC to set up Hindu Raj, a trick of INC to set up Hindu Raj, plus CPI 1925, plus Communist Party of India, CPI 1925 opposed INC and CDM, opposed INC and its CDM, opposed INC and its CDM due to directions of Comintern, due to directions of Comintern, in brackets, an organization of all communists parties of world, headed by USSR, an organization of all communist parties of the world headed by USSR, right? So communists, they believe in internationalism. Workers of the world unite. They don't believe in nationalism, they believe in internationalism, right? So इनके आका जो थे रशिया में बैठते थे, ठीक है? तो इन्होंने डिसीजन लिया 1928 में, in 1928, देखिए in 1928 प्लस सिख कॉमा हिंदू महासभा, प्लस सिख कॉमा हिंदू महासभा and Justice Party of Madras, opposed CDM, full stop. Therefore MG gave 11-point demands, in brackets 1930 brackets closed to British, and on their rejection he decided to launch CDM, and on their rejection he decided to launch CDM in brackets 1930-34. He decided to launch CDM in brackets 1930-34 brackets closed, right? So therefore this is the situation. अब इनको थोड़ा सा explain कर देते हैं. अपना वो दो रजिस्टर दो, रजिस्टर और क्या दोगे? ठीक, क्या गंदी राइटिंग है यार तुम्हारी, दो. ठीक, सो देखिए क्या है. पहले आता है फिफ्थ पॉइंट, राइट? फिफ्थ पॉइंट. सो व्हाट इज फिफ्थ पॉइंट? AICC, All India Congress Committee, to launch CDM at appropriate time. So what is the interesting thing here? Interesting thing is there कि in 1928 decision was that after 1 year we will launch CDM for Purn Swaraj. But from the perspective of Prince, what is the interesting nuance to note? That when 1929 session took place, INC declared its goal to be Purn Swaraj, but only empowered Mahatma Gandhi, that is only empowered All India Congress Committee to launch CDM at appropriate time, did not launch CDM. So from the purposes of prelims, 1929 Lahore session, goal of Purn Swaraj, yes, but not launch of CDM. Launch of CDM decision will be taken in 1930. That is one point. Why at an appropriate time? Because some sections, they were putting huge amount of pressure to launch CDM, like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, etc. Whereas some sections were opposed to CDM. Jaise Muslims of INC, they were opposed to launching CDM. Until unless you have INC Muslim League unity. Why? Religion plays an important role, caste plays an important role, language plays an important role in the politics. Right? So what is one of the important work of INC Muslim leaders? They'll be going to the Muslim neighborhoods and they'll be asking the Muslims to support civil disobedience movement. In response, what will the Muslims say? Especially those Muslims who are pro-Muslim League. They'll say, you are a gaddar, nikal jaye yahan se. Bhagta chala jaiye, dikhna bhi nahi chahiye. Right? That is, run away from here, I should not see your face. This is a Muslim person who is pro-Muslim League. Right? Why? Because you are a gaddar. My Muslim League has said that CDM will lead to Hindu Raj. And you are gaddar because you are there with INC. Right? And since Muslim League is more famous among the Muslims, right, at this particular point of time, therefore the Muslim leaders of INC, they want कि बहुत बेहतर रहेगा, it will be very good if Lucknow Pact 1916 like situation is there, so that there is friendship between INC and Muslim League, so that when we go to the Muslim neighborhoods, so Muslim League party cadres, they do not create trouble for us, right? They do not tell us all these things. So therefore, if possible, launch CDM after entering into some kind of agreement with Muslim League. Obviously, and second, utility will be there, that if Muslim League supports, then chances of success will also be good. है ना? तो ऐसा रहेगा. Second point, for example, mention middle classes. They were unsure. So actually, Great Depression took place in 1929. So what is depression in the domain of economics? What is depression? Very good. Demand is down. People are economically depressed, that means they are not ready to spend money. Lack of action is depression. And this was lack of economic action, why people are not buying something. When people don't buy something, then everything goes down. When people don't buy something, so see, import export will go down. Import export, it will decrease. And therefore, let's say if there is any Indian merchant who is importing British goods, right? Who is importing British goods, and Mahatma Gandhi says Indians boycott British goods. Already because of depression, profits of this importer, Indian importer of British goods, they are down. And now Mahatma Gandhi also tells the Indians, don't buy British goods. So importers of British goods, that is Indian capitalists who are traders, who import British goods and they run their families by doing this, they are worried that if Mahatma Gandhi says so, then what will happen to me? So right now many of such British importers, they are not sure कि क्या करना है. Already धंधा down है and फिर Indians if they stop buying the British good तो problem और बढ़ेगा. ठीक. Next हमने क्या लिखा? Your this thing, middle classes हो गया. फिर उसके बाद मुस्लिम लीग का तो पता ही है, CPI. So as we discussed yesterday, communists they believe in internationalism. They anything which opposes unity between workers, they are opposed to it. So they are opposed to religion. If on the basis of religion, a Jew worker is going to say, I am not ready to stand unitedly with a Christian worker. Therefore, this is hurting workers' unity. If on the basis of language, a Kannada worker says, I am not ready to stand with a Telugu worker. So therefore, this is hurting unity of the workers. Right? On the basis of feminism or patriarchy, if a man worker is saying, I am not going to stand with a woman worker, this is hurting unity of workers. Similarly, on the basis of nationality, that I am a French and therefore I am not going to stand, I am a French worker and I am not going to stand unitedly with German worker. Right? So therefore, any this kind of thing which hurts the workers' unity, communists, they are opposed to it. So they believe in global unity of the workers. And that is why this feeling that Comintern will have all the communist parties of the world and they are going to take direction from USSR ki kya karna kya nahi karna. So they have more loyalty kind of towards the Comintern. And Comintern had decided in 1928 that we are going to oppose, either you are with us or you are against us. Right? So therefore we are going to oppose anyone who tolerates capitalism. And who also tolerates capitalism? Those who are socialists. Socialists, they want to remove only negatives of capitalism. Whereas these people, they want to remove capitalism itself. So therefore they tell these people that you are gaddars. है ना? नाम नाम के तुम हो left wing. You don't want to end capitalism, you only want to end negatives of capitalism. And therefore you want to tell the people that capitalism can exist. धोखेबाज. Right? So in 1928 they take such a decision that anyone who is not this, you are going to oppose. ऐसा. So उन्होंने कहा ठीक है. तो INC यहीं लाई करता है. CPI यहाँ लाई करता है. So they declared that INC is a party of capitalists. And we are going to oppose INC. Why don't Sikh support, Hindu Mahasabha support, and Justice Party was of the OBCs or the backward castes in Madras? Why? Because party politics. If a movement led by INC becomes a huge success, then in the elections who will be successful? INC. So there the reason is party politics. अभी जैसे भारत जोड़ो यात्रा चल रहा है INC का, तो ऐसा तो नहीं है that all the political parties, opposition parties, they have come together. Why? Because the face of the yatra is Congress. And जब इलेक्शन हो तो नुकसान इनका हो जाएगा. INC के वोट्स बढ़ जाएंगे, इनके घट जाएंगे, क्योंकि भीड़ तो ये लेके आ रहे हैं और ज्यादा. Right? So ऐसा. So that's why you see, not all opposition parties they want to be seen. Why? Because vote का खेल है ना. So therefore, if a huge movement takes place by INC, which is a big success, so when elections will take place, so people will vote for INC. So because of party politics, etc., they are not supporting this. Right? किसी को भी ऐसा कहना that Sikh are pro-British, that Justice Party is, extra pro-British, ऐसा मतलब ठीक नहीं है. वो बुक्स वगैरह कभी कभी लिख देती है लेफ्ट विंग पर, बट ठीक है. नॉर्मल उसको रखो, पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स है. रियल रीजन तो वही है, पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स ऐसा करके. राइट? तो ये है. तो इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास विल डिस्कस योर सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट ऑफ 1930-34. ठीक है? हाँ जी, वो डिस्कस करेंगे. सिंपल से डिमांड से, वो फालतू के डिमांड से वो एक्चुअली आपके नोट पैड में दे रखा है, नोट में.